She thought the cold spoon pressed against her bruised wrist would numb the pain, but nothing could numb the terror of what awaited her in 3 hours, a wedding ceremony that would sell her soul to pay her grandmother's medical bills. Seo-yeon had no idea that her desperate sprint through Seoul's rain-soaked streets in a torn wedding dress would crash her directly into the arms of Korea's most feared mafia boss, a man whose protection came with rules that felt like prison bars and a darkness that matched her own. What she couldn't predict was that Ri Min-jae's obsession with keeping her safe would unravel secrets about his dead wife, ignite a love that defied every boundary he'd built, and force them both to choose between the cages they knew and the freedom they'd never dared to imagine. But when her psychotic ex-fiancé's final move threatens to destroy everything they've built, the question becomes, can love truly conquer all, or will some prisons be too beautiful to escape? Subscribe and comment below if you've ever had to choose between safety and freedom, because this story is about to prove that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is trust your heart. The tea has gone bitter on the stove, but Seo-yeon doesn't move to turn off the flame. She sits at the cracked mirror, pressing a cold spoon against the fading bruise that circles her left wrist. The metal makes her skin numb. She needs the numbness. "Yoni?" Yoon-hee's voice drifts from the narrow bed, rough with sleep and something deeper. Something that makes the oxygen tank hiss a little faster. "Are you getting ready?" "Yes, grandmother." Seo-yeon's voice was steady. She had practiced that steadiness for weeks. "Just fixing my hair." The wedding dress hangs from the door frame, white silk that cost more than their rent. Ji-hoon had chosen it. Ji-hoon chose everything now. Seo-yeon reaches for the sewing kit hidden beneath her pillow. Her fingers find the cash she had saved coin by coin, server tips from the hotel, seamstress payments for hemming rich women's dresses, money that smells of other people's happiness. She threads the needle with practiced silence. The bills disappear into the dress's inner hem, each stitch a small rebellion. "The car will be here soon," Yoon-hee said. Her breathing catches on the words. "You'll be beautiful." "I know." Seo-yeon felt sick. The spoon clatters into the tiny sink. She stands and smooths her slip, watching herself in the mirror. 28 years old, dark hair that never stays pinned, eyes that used to laugh. Those eyes stopped laughing 3 months ago, the day Ji-hoon's father shook hands with the loan shark who owned their debt, the day her grandmother's medical bills became a marriage contract. The stove finally clicks off. The bitter tea smell fills their one-room apartment. Footsteps echo in the hallway outside, heavy boots on thin carpet. Seo-yeon felt her chest tighten. They're early. "Yoni." Yoon-hee struggles to sit up against her pillows. "Come here." Seo-yeon crosses the room in 3 steps. Her grandmother's hand finds hers, fingers paper-thin but warm. "You don't have to do this," Yoon-hee said. "We can find another way." "What other way?" Seo-yeon's throat was thick. "The debt won't disappear. Your heart won't heal itself. I'm old. I've lived enough." "Don't." Seo-yeon's voice cracked. "Don't say that." The pounding starts on their door. 3 sharp knocks that make the thin walls shake. "Miss Han," a woman's voice, bright and false. "The bridal coordinator is here." Seo-yeon felt her breath catch. She kisses her grandmother's forehead and stands. The wedding dress slides over her shoulders with a whisper of expensive silk. "Miss Han, we're on a schedule." "Coming," Seo-yeon calls. Her hands shake as she zips the dress. The hidden money crinkles against her ribs, a secret heartbeat. The door opens before she reaches it. A woman in a sharp suit steps inside, followed by 2 men in black. Security. Ji-hoon's security. "Oh, lovely," the coordinator said. She looks at Seo-yeon the way someone examines a purchase. "Though we'll need to fix that hair, and the makeup needs more coverage." The men don't speak. They position themselves by the window and the door, watching. Yoon-hee tries to get up. "I should come with her, to the ceremony." "I'm afraid that won't be possible." The coordinator's smile never wavers. "Mr. Park has decided the guest list needs to be more intimate. Security concerns, you understand." Seo-yeon felt anger flash through her chest. "She's my family, and she'll be perfectly safe here." The coordinator checks her phone. "Now we really must go. The car is waiting." One of the men steps closer to Yoon-hee's bed. Not threatening, just present. Seo-yeon's eyes found her grandmother's. They say goodbye without words. "Time to go, Miss Han." The coordinator takes Seo-yeon's arm. Her grip was firm. Too firm. The last thing Seo-yeon sees before the door closes was her grandmother reaching for the oxygen mask, alone in their small room with its bitter tea and fading bruises. The hotel prep suite smells of hairspray and expensive perfume. Seo-yeon sits in a chair while three women work around her, painting and pinning and pulling. Their hands move fast and sure, transforming her into someone else. "Hold still," the makeup artist said. "We need to cover those shadows under your eyes." Seo-yeon stares at herself in the mirror. The woman looking back has perfect skin and glossy lips. She doesn't look like someone who spent the night memorizing the hotel's service corridors. The two men from security stand by the windows. They check their phones and watch the door. One of them speaks quietly into his collar mic. "Where's my phone?" Seo-yeon asked. "Safe," the coordinator said. "We'll need it for photos after the ceremony. No distractions during prep." Seo-yeon felt her chest tighten. No phone meant no calls. No calls meant no checking on Eun-hee. The stylist tugs at her hair, pulling it into an elaborate twist. Pins scrape against Seo-yeon's scalp. She doesn't flinch. "This veil is vintage," the coordinator said. She holds up a length of cream lace. "It belonged to Mr. Park's grandmother. The lace has a small tear near the edge." Seo-yeon notices it and says nothing. Another woman's torn veil, another woman's forced marriage. "Arms up," the seamstress said. Seo-yeon raises her arms while they adjust the dress. The hidden money crinkles softly against her ribs. The seamstress frowns and presses the fabric flat. "Must be the interfacing," she said. One of the security men checks his watch. 30 minutes to ceremony. Seo-yeon's eyes drift to the service map she had studied during her shifts here. Kitchen access through the prep room. Loading dock through the freight elevator. Emergency exits marked in red. "I need the bathroom," she said. "Make it quick," the coordinator said. "We can't be late." Seo-yeon stands carefully. The dress weighs more than her entire wardrobe. She moves toward the bathroom, but her eyes track the space between the prep room door and the security guards. In the bathroom mirror, she looks like a stranger. Perfect stranger getting married to a man who owns her debt, who owns her. She turns the water on full blast and opens the bathroom window. 3 floors up, too high to jump, but the kitchen door might be unlocked. The staff always propped it open during events for air circulation. She turns off the water and returns to the prep room. The coordinator checks her reflection one more time. "Perfect," she said. "Mr. Park will be very pleased." Seo-yeon felt sick again. The security men position themselves at the door as the styling team packs up. One speaks into his mic again. "Package ready for transport." Package. Seo-yeon was a package now. "Let's go, Miss Han." The coordinator takes her arm again. "Your groom is waiting." They move toward the door in a small parade. Coordinator first, then Seo-yeon, then security. The hallway stretches ahead, leading to the main elevator and the ceremony rooms below. But as they pass the prep room, Seo-yeon sees it. The kitchen door, propped open with a plastic crate. Steam drifts out, carrying the sound of clattering dishes and busy voices. The coordinator doesn't notice when Seo-yeon stumbles slightly on her train. "Careful," one of the guards said. "Don't want to damage the dress." Seo-yeon straightens and smiles. "Sorry, these heels are new." Her heart pounds against the hidden money as they continue down the hall. But her mind maps the distance to that open door. 10 steps, maybe 12, in the heavy dress. The elevator doors open with a soft chime. "After you," the coordinator said. Seo-yeon felt her breath catch. She looks back once at the kitchen door. Then she steps out of her heels. "Miss Han." Seo-yeon lifts her skirts and runs. The kitchen door slams behind her as she bursts into organized chaos. Servers dodge around her with loaded trays. Steam billows from the industrial stoves. Someone shouts in Korean about burned garnish. "Hey!" A chef waves his knife at her. "No street clothes in here." Seo-yeon doesn't stop. She pushes through the prep station, her dress catching on steel corners. The fabric tears, but she keeps moving. The loading dock sits 30 feet away, through a maze of stainless steel and steam. Red exit signs point the way like beckoning fingers. Behind her, the kitchen door crashes open again. "Stop her!" The coordinator's voice carries over the cooking noise. "Security!" Seo-yeon reaches the loading dock door and shoves the handle. It sticks for one terrible second, then gives way. Cold air hits her face. Rain falls in sheets across the concrete platform. Delivery trucks idle in the narrow alley, their engines rumbling against the storm. She steps into the rain barefoot. The silk dress turns heavy and dark within seconds. Her perfect hair unravels in streaming pieces. Car doors slam behind her. Footsteps echo off wet concrete. "Miss Han." One of the security guards appears in the doorway. "Come back inside." Seo-yeon runs toward the alley mouth. The pavement cuts her feet, but she doesn't slow. The rain washes away her makeup in pale streams. Headlights sweep across the loading dock as a black sedan turns into the alley. Too fast. The tires spray water against the concrete walls. Seo-yeon stumbles, her wet dress tangling around her legs. She looks back to see both guards coming after her, their suits dark with rain. The sedan's brakes squeal as it slides to a stop 3 feet from where she stands. Steam rises from its hood. Through the tinted windshield, she sees the outline of someone in the passenger seat. More headlights appear at the far end of the alley. 3 cars moving fast. Ji-hoon's cars. The sedan's back door clicks open. "Get in." The voice comes from the shadows inside the car. Deep, calm, not Korean. Seo-yeon looks at the approaching lights, then at the guards closing in from behind. Her feet bleed onto the concrete. Her wedding dress clings to her skin. She yanks the door open wider and throws herself inside. The man beside her doesn't move as she collapses onto leather seats. Rain drips from her hair onto expensive upholstery. She can't see his face clearly in the dim light, but his voice cuts through her panic. "Drive." The sedan lurches forward as Ji-hoon's cars reach the alley entrance. Seo-yeon twists to look out the back window. The security guards stand in the rain, speaking rapidly into their phones. "Anywhere but there," she whispers, still breathless. The man beside her finally turns. Dark eyes study her face with an expression she can't read. His hair is black, swept back from a face that belongs in boardrooms or expensive restaurants, not rescue cars in rainy alleys. "You're bleeding," he said. Seo-yeon looks down at her cut feet. Blood mixes with rainwater on the car floor. "I'm fine." "No, you're not." Something in his voice makes her look up. His eyes haven't left her face. The sedan takes a hard right out of the alley. Through the windshield, Seo-yeon sees the street that leads away from the hotel, away from Ji-hoon, away from the ceremony that would have sold her for her grandmother's medical bills. "Who are you?" she asked. He doesn't answer immediately. The silence stretches between them while the rain drums against the roof. "Someone who doesn't return lost things," he said finally. The sedan climbs through Seoul's hills as the rain continues to fall. Seo-yeon presses herself against the door, suddenly aware that she had jumped from one stranger's car into another. Her wet dress clings uncomfortably to her skin. The driver speaks quietly into his earpiece. Korean, but too fast for her to follow. Something about routes and timing. "Seok-jin," the man beside her said. "Handle the pursuit." The driver nods. "Yes, sir." "Sir." "Not a name. A title." Seo-yeon felt her stomach tighten. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe." He reaches into his jacket and she flinches, but he only pulls out his phone. "What's your name?" "Seo-yeon." The word slips out before she can stop it. "Just Seo-yeon?" She nods. Giving him her full name feels dangerous. Everything feels dangerous now. He types something on his phone. The screen casts blue light across his features. Strong jaw, straight nose, a thin scar along his left temple. Expensive suit, despite the emergency rescue. "The men chasing you," he said. "Park Ji-hoon's men." Seo-yeon's breath caught. "You know Ji-hoon?" "I know of him." His voice was flat. "His family has interests that sometimes conflict with mine." The sedan takes another sharp turn. Through the rain-streaked windows, Seo-yeon sees they're leaving the city center. Fewer lights, narrower roads. "I should go back," she said suddenly. "My grandmother, she's sick. If Ji-hoon thinks I'm gone, he'll use her to bring you back." The man's eyes find hers in the dim light. "Yes." "Then I have to." "No." His voice cuts through her panic. "You go back now. The marriage happens tonight. After that, what leverage does your grandmother give him?" Seo-yeon felt cold that had nothing to do with her wet clothes. She knew he was right. Once Ji-hoon owned her legally, Eun-hee became unnecessary. A loose end. "Traffic alert," the driver said. 3 vehicles trying to follow. "I'm routing around." "Good." The sedan enters a tunnel cut through the hillside. Orange lights flash past the windows in steady rhythm. Seo-yeon counts them to keep her mind busy. 37, 38, 39. "What do you want?" she asked when they emerge into open air again. "Want?" He tilts his head slightly. "You asked for help. I gave it. Nobody gives help for free." "No," he said. "They don't." The silence stretches between them again. Seo Yon studies his profile as he looks out the window. Calm. Too calm for someone who had just interfered in Park family business. "Who are you?" she asked again. This time he answers, "Ri Min-jae." The name means nothing to her, but the driver's shoulders tense slightly. Seo Yon files the reaction away with everything else she doesn't understand about this night. Iron gates appear in the headlights ahead. Tall gates backed by stone walls that disappear into darkness on both sides. The sedan slows as they approach. "Sir," the driver said, "we're here." Min-jae touches something on his phone. The gates swing open silently. Beyond them, a road winds upward through landscaped grounds. Trees bend in the wind on both sides. Lightning flickers across the sky, illuminating glimpses of a house at the top of the hill. Not a house, a compound. Seo Yon felt her chest tighten again. "What is this place?" "Home," Min-jae said. The sedan climbs the drive toward lights that grow brighter with each second. Seo Yon grips the door handle and realizes she might have made a terrible mistake. But Ji-hoon's cars are somewhere behind them in the rain, and her grandmother sleeps alone with her oxygen tank and fading heart. The sedan stops in front of a building that looks like it belongs in architectural magazines. Clean lines, expensive materials, windows that reflect the storm clouds. "Come," Min-jae said, "you're safe now." Seo Yon looks at the compound's lights and wonders if safety can feel so much like a trap. The front door opens before they reach it. A woman in her 50s appears, taking in Seo Yon's condition with quick, professional eyes. Her hair is pulled back severely, and her clothes are expensive but practical. "Madam K," Min-jae said, "we have a guest." "I can see that." The woman's voice was crisp. "She needs dry clothes and medical attention." "I'm fine," Seo Yon said. Her voice sounds smaller in the large entrance hall. "Your feet are bleeding on marble floors." Madam K's tone brooked no argument. "You are not fine." The hall stretches up 2 stories, all clean lines and subtle lighting. A curved staircase leads to an upper floor. Everything is white and grey and spotless. Seo Yon felt suddenly aware of how she must look. Soaked wedding dress, smeared makeup, bare feet leaving bloody prints. "The guest room," Min-jae said, "and have Dr. Chen come for her feet." "Already called." Madam K turns to Seo Yon. "Come, we'll get you sorted." Seo Yon doesn't move. "I can't stay here." "Where will you go?" Min-jae asked. "Back to your apartment?" "Ji-hoon's men are probably there already." "My grandmother is safer if you're not with her." His voice was gentle but firm. "For now." Madam K touches Seo Yon's elbow. "The clothes first. Everything else can wait." They climb the staircase together. Seo Yon's wet dress drips onto white carpet. She wants to apologize but can't find the words. The guest room overlooks the compound's grounds through floor-to-ceiling windows. Rain streams down the glass in silver rivers. In the distance, city lights twinkle through the storm. "Shower," Madam K said, pointing to an attached bathroom. "I'll find you something to wear." Seo Yon stands alone in the steam-filled bathroom afterward, wearing borrowed clothes that are too big but clean and dry. Her feet are bandaged where the concrete cut deepest. The hidden money from her dress sits on the counter in a damp pile. When she returns to the bedroom, Min-jae is waiting. "Feeling better?" he asked. "I need to call my grandmother." "No outside calls." His voice was matter-of-fact. "The phones might be monitored. You can't keep me here. I'm not keeping you anywhere." He moves to stand by the window. "But there are rules while you're under my protection." "Rules?" "No leaving the compound without an escort. No access to certain areas of the house. No contact with anyone outside unless I approve it." Seo Yon felt anger flash through her chest. "So, I'm a prisoner. You're alive." His reflection meets her eyes in the rain-dark window. "Ji-hoon's men would have dragged you back to that ceremony. You know what happens after that." She did know. The contract marriage, the ownership papers disguised as love. "My grandmother needs her medication," she said. "If I'm not there to make sure she takes it." "Where is she?" "Our apartment. But the pharmacy won't deliver any more without payment up front." Something shifted in his expression. "What medication?" Seo Yon tells him about the heart condition, the oxygen tank, the pills that cost more than their monthly rent. Min-jae listens without interrupting. When she finishes, he pulls out his phone. "Sok Jin, I need a pickup at." He looks at her. Seo Yon gives him the address. "Elderly woman with cardiac issues. Take her to the private clinic on Hanam-dong. Dr. Kim's facility." He pauses. "Yes, tonight." Seo-yeon felt her breath catch. You can't just... I can and I am. He ends the call. Your grandmother will be safe and properly cared for, better than she would be at your apartment. I don't understand. Why would you help her? Because Ji-hoon will use her first. His voice was flat again. Remove the leverage, remove his power over you. Through the window, headlights move on the road below the compound. Security patrols, maybe, or something else. He'll look for her, Seo-yeon said. He'll look for you both. But my clinic is harder to breach than a one-room apartment. Your clinic? Seo-yeon files that information away with everything else about this man who speaks in short sentences and owns compounds and has drivers who call him sir. How long? She asked. Until it's safe. And when will that be? Min-jae turns from the window. His eyes were dark and unreadable in the low light. When Park Ji-hoon learns that some things can't be bought, he said. The rain continues to fall against the glass. Somewhere in the city, her grandmother sleeps with her failing heart. Somewhere else, Ji-hoon plans his next move. And here, in this beautiful cage, Seo-yeon sits on a borrowed bed and wonders what price she'll pay for safety. Sleep doesn't come. Seo-yeon sits by the window and watches the rain until it stops near dawn. The compound's grounds emerge in grey light, manicured gardens, stone paths, subtle lighting that follows security cameras. A soft knock interrupts her thoughts. Come in, she said. Min-jae enters carrying a tray. Coffee, toast, fruit cut into precise pieces. You didn't eat yesterday, he said. How do you know? Wedding preparations don't usually include meals. He sets the tray on a small table by the window. Eat. Seo-yeon doesn't move. I want to see my grandmother. She's stable. Dr. Kim called an hour ago. I want to see her myself. No. The word hangs between them. Final. Non-negotiable. You can't keep me locked up here, Seo-yeon said. I'm not locking you anywhere. Min-jae moves to stand by the door. You're free to leave. The gates will open for you. And then what? Ji-hoon finds me in an hour? Probably less. Seo-yeon felt frustrated, anger building in her chest. So, I have no choice. You always have choices. His voice was quiet. Bad choices, but choices. She stands and crosses to where he waits, close enough to see the thin scar along his temple more clearly, close enough to notice that his expensive suit has been pressed, but not changed since last night. What do you want from me? She asked. Nothing. Everyone wants something. Yes, he said. They do. The silence stretches between them. His eyes study her face with that same unreadable expression from the car. I have conditions, Seo-yeon said finally. For what? For staying. For accepting your protection. She lifts her chin. I want to see my grandmother every other day. I want confirmation that she's receiving proper care. And I want something to do besides sit in this room. Anything else? I want your real name. Not just Ri Min-jae. Something flickered across his features, almost like surprise. That is my real name. Your full name. Your title. What you do that makes drivers call you sir, and lets you own private clinics. The silence stretched longer this time. Somewhere in the house, a door closes. Footsteps echo in a distant hallway. I run a business, he said finally. What kind of business? The kind that makes Park Ji-hoon careful about his next moves. Not an answer, but maybe enough of one for now. The conditions? Seo-yeon asked. Min-jae considers for a moment. Supervised visits to see your grandmother. Work in the house if you want something to do. He pauses. But no outside contact. No access to phones or internet without supervision. And you don't leave the grounds without an escort. For how long? Until it's safe. You keep saying that. When will it be safe? His phone buzzes. He checks it, and his expression hardens slightly. When Park Ji-hoon stops sending flowers, he said. Flowers? White lilies. Delivered to the gate an hour ago. His eyes find hers, with a note asking for the return of his property. Seo-yeon felt her stomach clench. Property. That's what she was to Ji-hoon. What she'd always been. Do we have a deal? Min-jae asked. She looks around the beautiful room with its locked door and guarded windows. Then she thinks about her grandmother in a real clinic with real doctors. About the alternative waiting beyond those iron gates. We have a deal, she said. Min-jae nods once and turns to leave. Wait, Seo-yeon said. Your full name, you promised. He stops with his hand on the door handle. When he speaks, his voice was so quiet she almost misses it. Ri Min-jae, CEO of Hanam Industries, former heir to the Ri family syndicate. He doesn't turn around. current head of the Soul faction. The door closes behind him with a soft click. Seo-yeon sits back down by the window and stares out at the gardens. CEO, syndicate head. The words settle in her mind slowly. She had jumped from a burning building into a lion's den, but her grandmother was safe in a private clinic, and Ji-hoon's property had just signed a protection contract with his rival. The coffee has gone cold by the time she finally drinks it. The private clinic smells of expensive disinfectant and fresh flowers. Seo-yeon sits beside her grandmother's bed, holding hands that feel too thin and watching the steady rise and fall of Yoon-hee's chest. "The doctor says your levels are much better," she said. "This place." Yoon-hee's voice was stronger than it had been in months. "It's too much. The private room, the nurses checking every hour. You need the care. What I need is my granddaughter safe." Yoon-hee's eyes were sharp despite her illness. "Tell me about this man." Seo-yeon glances toward the hallway where Sok-jin waits. Min-jae's right hand, he had introduced himself. Polite, professional, armed. "He's helping us," she said. "Men like that don't help for free." "What do you know about men like that?" "I know they don't run regular businesses." Yoon-hee squeezes her hand. "I know the nurses whisper about him when they think I'm sleeping." Through the window, Seoul spreads out in afternoon sunlight. The storm has passed, leaving the city clean and bright. Somewhere out there, Ji-hoon is planning his next move. "He's better than Ji-hoon," Seo-yeon said. "That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have right now." A nurse appears in the doorway. Young, pretty. She smiles at Yoon-hee, but her eyes linger on the hallway where Seok-jin stands. "Time for your medication, Mrs. Jung," she said. Yoon-hee accepts the pills without complaint. The IV drip continues its steady rhythm. Machines monitor heartbeat and blood pressure with quiet efficiency. "How long can we stay here?" Yoon-hee asked when the nurse leaves. "As long as you need to. And after that?" Seo-yeon doesn't have an answer for that. She doesn't know what happens when the debt still exists but the marriage contract is void. Doesn't know how long Min-jae's protection extends or what he'll want in return. "One day at a time," she said. They sit in comfortable silence while afternoon light moves across the floor. Yoon-hee dozes. Her breathing is easier here with the proper medication and monitoring. Seok-jin appears in the doorway. "We should go soon." Seo-yeon nods. She kisses her grandmother's forehead and stands. "Yoni." Yoon-hee's eyes open. "Be careful. Protection can become its own kind of cage." The drive back to the compound is quiet. Seoul traffic moves around them in its usual chaos, but the sedan feels separate from it all. Safe, isolated. "She looks better," Sok-jin said. "The doctors here are good. The best." He glances at her in the rearview mirror. "Mr. Ri makes sure of that." "Have you worked for him long?" 8 years. Seok-jin doesn't offer more information, and Seo-yeon doesn't push. She's learning that people in Min-jae's world speak carefully, every word measured. The iron gates of the compound come into view as they climb the hill. "Home," Min-jae had called it. "It still feels more like a fortress." "Miss Han," Sok-jin's voice was carefully neutral. "Mr. Ri is a good man. Sometimes that's harder to see than it should be." The gates swing open, and the sedan climbs toward the house. Seo-yeon thinks about protection and cages and the difference between them. When they stop in the circular drive, Min-jae is waiting. Dinner happens in a formal dining room with a table that seats 12. Only 3 places are set. Min-jae at the head, Seo-yeon to his right. Madam K bustling between the kitchen and the table with dishes that could feed twice as many people. "Your grandmother?" Min-jae asked. "Better. The doctors say her heart is responding to the new medication." Seo-yeon picks at grilled fish that probably costs more than her weekly salary. "Thank you." "For what?" "You know what." He cuts his food with precise movements. Everything about him is controlled, deliberate. "The clinic has excellent cardiac specialists," he said. "She'll receive the best care available." "At what cost?" "Cost?" Min-jae looks up from his plate. "There's no cost. There's always a cost." "Not always." Thunder rumbles outside the tall windows. Another storm moving through. The lights flicker once, then steady. "Tell me about the flowers," Seo-yeon said. Min-jae sets down his fork. "White lilies, traditional funeral flowers." The message was clear. Which was, return what belongs to him or accept the consequences. Seo-yeon felt her chest tighten. "And your response?" "I don't negotiate with the Park family. Ever, ever." The lights flicker again, longer this time. Madam K appears with battery-powered lanterns. setting them on the table with practiced efficiency. "Storm's getting worse," she said. "Power might go out." As if summoned by her words, the lights die completely. The dining room falls into near darkness except for the lantern's warm glow. Min-jae reaches for his phone's flashlight. The beam catches the thin scar along his temple, making it stand out white against his skin. "How did you get that?" Seo-yeon asked. His hand pauses. "Get what?" "The scar." He touches it unconsciously. "Old accident." "What kind of accident?" "The kind you learn from." Not an answer again, but his voice carries something that makes her stop pushing. Thunder crashes overhead, loud enough to shake the windows. Min-jae's phone slips from his fingers and clatters to the floor. For just a second, his control breaks. His jaw tightens. His hand forms a fist before he forces it flat. "I'm fine," he said before anyone asks, but he's not. Seo-yeon sees it in the way he avoids meeting her eyes, the way his breathing has changed. She reaches across the small space between their chairs and covers his fist with her hand. His skin is warm, slightly rough along the knuckles. "It's just thunder," she said quietly. "I know what it is." "Do you?" He looks at their joined hands. "You should be afraid of me." "Why?" "Because I'm not a good man. Neither was Ji-hoon. But you're different." "How?" Seo-yeon thinks about it. About the clinic. The protection offered without conditions, she understood. The way he speaks to Madam K, with respect instead of orders. "You ask permission before you take," she said. The storm moves on after midnight. Power returns, flooding the house with sudden brightness. But they stay in the dining room's lantern glow, talking in careful sentences about safe topics. When Seo-yeon finally goes upstairs, she finds a keycard waiting on her nightstand. Plain white plastic with a magnetic strip. She tries it on the terrace door she noticed earlier. The lock clicks open. Outside, the sea spreads dark and endless beyond the compound's walls. Salt air carries the storm's clean scent. Freedom waits just past the security lights and camera coverage, but she doesn't step onto the terrace. Instead, she locks the door again and places the keycard on the table where she can see it. A gift, or a test. Either way, it changes something between them. Morning sun streams through the kitchen windows as Seo-yeon helps Madam K prepare breakfast. The work feels good after days of sitting still. Familiar motions of chopping vegetables and stirring soup. "You don't have to do this," Madam K said. "You're a guest. I need something to do with my hands." Madam K watches her dice onions with efficient strokes. "You cook professionally?" "Server work mostly. Some kitchen prep when they needed extra help." The older woman nods approvingly. Useful skills. Through the window, Seo-yeon watches gardeners tend the compound's grounds. Security cameras track their movements in slow, mechanical sweeps. Everything monitored, everything controlled. "Has he always been this careful?" she asked. "Mr. Rhee?" Madam K considers the question. "He's gotten more careful over the years." "Why?" "Loss makes people cautious." Before Seo-yeon can ask what that means, Sok-jin appears in the kitchen doorway. His expression is grim. "Madam K, Miss Han, you need to see this." They follow him to the front entrance where a delivery sits on the marble steps. White lilies arranged in an expensive crystal vase. The card tucked between the stems looks innocent enough. But Seok-jin holds up a small electronic device. Black plastic, blinking red light. "Listening device," he said, wired into the ribbon. Seo-yeon felt her stomach drop. "He's watching us." "He's trying to." Sok-jin crushes the device under his heel. But our security sweeps caught it. "Where's Min-jae?" Madam K asked. "Office." "He's not happy about this development." They find Min-jae standing behind his desk, staring out at the grounds through bulletproof glass. His shoulders are rigid with controlled anger. "Sir," Seok-jin said, "the device is disabled." "Good." Min-jae doesn't turn around. Double the perimeter sweeps. "I want eyes on every delivery, every vehicle that approaches the gates." "Already done." "And the clinic?" Dr. Kim confirms no attempts to access Mrs. Jung's information. Security there is holding. Seo-yeon steps forward. "What does this mean?" Now Min-jae turns. His face is calm, but his eyes burn with something dangerous. "It means Park Ji-hoon is getting impatient," he said. "And desperate men make stupid choices. He's trying to find ways to get to me. He's trying to find ways to get to all of us." Min-jae moves around the desk to stand closer. "New rules, effective immediately." "More rules?" "Supervised movement only. No garden walks alone. No terrace access without security clearance." His voice was flat, professional. And no clinic visits until we're certain the route is clean. Seo-yeon felt walls closing in. For how long? Until I neutralize the threat. How? Leave that to me. The dismissal in his tone sparks anger in her chest. I'm not a child. I deserve to know what you're planning. You deserve to stay alive. That's my priority right now. My grandmother needs to see me. She'll worry if I don't come. Madam K will call the clinic. Your grandmother will be told you have a minor illness. Nothing serious but contagious enough to require isolation. You can't just... I can and I will. Min-jae's voice cuts through her protest. This isn't a negotiation. The office falls silent except for the hum of air conditioning and distant traffic beyond the compound walls. Sok-jin and Madam K exchange glances. Seo-yeon stares at Min-jae's implacable face. Yesterday he had given her a keycard. Today he's locking every door. I see, she said quietly. Do you? Yes. I understand exactly what kind of cage this is now. Something flickers across his expression, but his voice remains steady. The kind that keeps you breathing, he said. Seo-yeon turns and walks out of the office without another word. Behind her, she hears Seok-jin clear his throat. Sir, the surveillance footage shows the courier was just a delivery service, paid in cash. No direct contact with Park's people. It doesn't matter. He's escalating. What are your orders? The pause stretches long enough for Seo-yeon to reach the staircase. Then Min-jae's voice follows her up the stairs. Watch her. Watch everything. And prepare for the next move. In her room, Seo-yeon sits on the bed and stares at the terrace door. The keycard lies where she left it on the nightstand. Still there. Still untouched. But it feels different now. Less like trust and more like bait. 3 days pass in careful routine. Breakfast with Madam K in the kitchen. Supervised walks in the garden with silent security guards. Evenings in the main living room where she reads books from Min-jae's extensive library while he works on his laptop. They don't speak about the clinic visits she's missing. They don't speak about much at all. Your grandmother called, Madam K said on the 4th morning. She's asking about you. What did you tell her? That you're recovering from a mild fever. Nothing serious. Seo-yeon stirs her coffee and says nothing. The lie tastes bitter in her mouth. She wants to speak with you directly, Madam K continued. Absolutely not. Min-jae's voice comes from the kitchen doorway. Phone calls can be traced and monitored. She's an old woman with a heart condition, Seo-yeon said. She needs to hear my voice. She needs to stay alive, which means staying off Ji-hoon's radar. Everything needs to stay off his radar, according to you. Yes. The single word hangs between them. Final, as always. Seo-yeon stands abruptly. I need air. The garden is available, Min-jae said. With security. Of course, with security. She walks toward the door, but his voice stops her. Seo-yeon. She doesn't turn around. What? It's temporary. You keep saying that. Because it's true. When? When does temporary end? The silence stretches. She can feel him behind her, choosing his words carefully. When it's safe, he said finally. Your favorite non-answer. The only answer I can give right now. This time she does turn. His face shows nothing, but his hands are clenched at his sides. I want to make a bargain, she said. What kind of bargain? I want to visit the clinic today. 1 hour with my grandmother under whatever security you think necessary. She pauses. In exchange, I'll accept the restrictions without argument for 2 more weeks. No. Why? Because the risk. Because you're afraid of losing control. The words come out sharper than she intended. You can't protect everyone from everything forever. Something shifts in his expression. A crack in the careful control. Can't I? He asked quietly. The question carries weight she doesn't understand. But before she can respond, Sok-jin appears in the kitchen. Sir? Dr. Kim is on the phone. Mrs. Jung is asking to be discharged. Seo-yeon felt her breath catch. What? She says she wants to go home, Sok-jin continued. The doctor is trying to convince her to stay, but she's being difficult. Of course she is. Seo-yeon turns to Min-jae. She thinks I'm abandoning her. You're not abandoning anyone. Tell that to my grandmother, who hasn't seen me in 4 days and is getting lies about why. Min-jae stares at her for a long moment. His jaw works silently. 1 hour, he said finally. Full security detail. You don't leave the clinic building for any reason. Done. And if anything feels wrong, anything at all, we leave immediately. Agreed. Sok-jin, prep the route. I want 3 cars and a sweep team to check the clinic before we arrive. Yes, sir. As Seok Jin leaves to make arrangements, Min Jae steps closer to Seo Yeon. "This isn't about control," he said quietly. "No? No. It's about keeping you alive long enough to find a permanent solution, which is removing Park Ji-hoon from the equation entirely." The words send a chill down her spine. Not because they sound threatening, but because they sound like a promise. "How?" she asked. "Leave that to me." And there it is again. The wall he builds around his intentions, the careful distance between protection and partnership. "Fine," she said, "but I want to cook dinner tonight. All of us. Madam K, Seok Jin, you and me." "Why?" "Because I'm tired of feeling like a guest in a beautiful prison. I want to feel useful." "You are useful." "How?" He doesn't answer immediately. When he does, his voice is so quiet she almost misses it. "You make it feel less like a fortress and more like a home." The clinic visit goes smoothly. Too smoothly. Seo Yeon sits beside her grandmother's bed and listens to complaints about the food, the nurses, and the unnecessary fussing over her medication schedule. "You look thin," Yoon-hee said. "Are you eating enough?" "I'm eating fine." "And this fever?" "Almost gone." The lie comes easier now. That bothers her more than she wants to admit. "The man who brought me here. This, Ri Min Jae." Yoon-hee's eyes are sharp. "What do you know about him?" Seo Yeon glances toward the hallway where 2 security guards wait. Professional, alert, armed. "He runs a business. He's helping us." "What kind of business requires armed escorts for hospital visits?" "The kind that can afford private clinics and real doctors." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." Yoon-hee studies her granddaughter's face with the attention of someone who raised her from childhood. "You care about him," she said. "He's protecting us." "That's not what I asked." Seo Yeon looks out the window at Seoul's sprawling cityscape. Somewhere out there, Ji-hoon is planning his next move. Somewhere else, Min Jae is planning his. "I don't know what I feel," she said honestly. "Be careful, Yoni. Gratitude can look like love when you're desperate. And love can look like gratitude when you're scared. Which are you?" "Both." The drive back to the compound takes longer than usual. Extra routes to check for surveillance, careful timing to avoid predictable patterns. "Everything quiet?" Min Jae asked as they passed through the iron gates. "All clear, sir," Seok Jin reports. No unusual activity around the clinic or on the route. But when they reach the house, Madam K is waiting with a grim expression. "What is it?" Min Jae asked. "Phone call. Someone asking about employment opportunities for a young woman matching Miss Han's description." She hands him a notepad. "I told them we weren't hiring, but they were persistent." Min Jae scans the notes. His face hardens. "Park's people?" Seo Yeon asked. "Testing the waters. Seeing if you're here." "What did you tell them?" "Nothing useful." Madam K's voice was dry. "I've had practice dealing with fishing expeditions." In the kitchen, Seo Yeon begins preparing dinner, as promised. Madam K works beside her, chopping vegetables while security reports filter in from various parts of the house. All perimeter sensors normal. Gate cameras show no unusual traffic. Communications are clean. Normal, clean, quiet. It makes Seo Yeon nervous. "Too easy," she said while seasoning soup. "What's too easy?" Madam K asked. "Today, the clinic visit. No problems, no complications." She tastes the broth and adds more salt. It feels like calm before a storm. "Sometimes things go smoothly. Not in my experience." Min Jae appears in the kitchen doorway. "Dinner smells good." "Seok Jin will eat with us?" Seo Yeon asked. "If you insist." "I insist." They gather around the kitchen table instead of the formal dining room. Casual, almost normal. Seok Jin sits stiffly at first, unused to eating with his employer, but gradually relaxes as conversation flows. "The fish is excellent," he said. "My grandmother's recipe." Seo Yeon refills his bowl. "She taught me to cook when I was 12. "Smart woman," Madam K said. "Cooking is independence. You can always feed yourself and others." "Speaking of your grandmother," Min Jae said carefully, "Dr. Kim mentioned she's been asking about discharge again." Seo Yeon felt her stomach tighten. "What did you tell him?" "To keep her comfortable but discourage any talk of leaving until her condition stabilizes completely. She hates feeling helpless. She hates feeling abandoned more." The words hit harder than he probably intended. Seo Yeon sets down her spoon. "I'm not abandoning her. I know that. She doesn't. Because I can't tell her the truth. The truth would put her in more danger." "Everything puts her in more danger, according to you." Min Jae's jaw tightens. "Because everything does put her in danger. Ji-hoon will use any leverage he can find. So we hide forever. We hide until there's no more threat. And when will that be? When I eliminate the source. The kitchen falls silent except for the soft bubble of soup on the stove. Seok-jin and Madam K exchange glances. Eliminate, Seo-yeon asked quietly. Remove. Neutralize. Whatever word makes you more comfortable. I'm not comfortable with any of those words. You don't have to be. You just have to stay alive long enough for me to handle it. Handle it how? However it takes. And there's the wall again. The careful distance between what he tells her and what he actually plans to do. Seo-yeon stands abruptly. I need air. The terrace is locked. I know. She looks at him steadily. Everything is locked. This time when she leaves the kitchen, he doesn't follow. But his voice carries after her. It's temporary. She doesn't respond. The word has lost all meaning. Security training happens in the compound's basement. Seok-jin walks Seo-yeon through evacuation routes, safe room locations, and emergency protocols with military precision. This corridor leads to the garage, he said, pointing to a floor plan spread across a metal table. 3 vehicles always fueled and ready. For what? Contingencies. Seo-yeon traces the underground passages marked in red ink. The compound has more exits than she realized. More hiding places. More ways to disappear. How long have you worked for him? She asked. 8 years. In security? Among other things. Seok-jin rolls up the floor plans and pulls out a different set of documents. Protocols for various threat levels. Color-coded responses to different types of attacks. Has he always been this careful? She asked. No. Seok-jin's voice was quiet. This level of security is relatively recent. How recent? 3 years. What happened 3 years ago? Seok-jin looks up from the documents. His eyes are careful, guarded. Loss, he said finally. The same word Madam K had used. Loss makes people cautious. What kind of loss? The kind that changes everything. Before she can push for details, an alarm chimes softly overhead. Security alert. Not emergency level, but urgent enough to require attention. What is that? Seo-yeon asked. Perimeter breach. Probably an animal. But Seok-jin is already moving toward the communication panel. Control, this is Seok-jin. Status report. Motion sensors triggered on the south wall. Cameras show no visual confirmation of intrusion. False alarm? Unclear. Reviewing footage now. Seo-yeon felt her chest tighten. Could it be Ji-hoon's people? Doubtful. They'd be more subtle. Seok-jin speaks into his radio again. Where's Mr. Ri? Office. He's monitoring the situation. We'll be right up. They find Min-jae standing behind his desk, watching multiple security feeds on wall-mounted monitors. His expression is calm, but focused. Anything? Seok-jin asked. Sensors triggered at 14:23. No visual confirmation of cause. Min-jae points to one screen, showing tree-lined wall sections. Could be a large bird or debris from the storm yesterday. Or a test probe, Seok-jin said. Possible. Seo-yeon watches the feeds cycle through different camera angles. The compound looks peaceful in afternoon sunlight. Normal. But normal has started to feel suspicious. There, she said, pointing to one monitor. That shadow moved. Both men focus on the screen, she indicated. For several seconds, nothing happens. Then a shape shifts behind a tree near the wall. Human? Min-jae asked. Too small. Probably a cat. The shape moves again, resolving into a sleek form with a long tail. Definitely feline. Neighborhood cat, Seok-jin confirmed. We've seen it before. The tension in the room eases slightly. Min-jae leans back in his chair. False alarm, he said. But good catch. I'm getting paranoid, Seo-yeon said. Paranoid keeps you alive. So does living. Actually living, not just surviving. Min-jae's eyes find hers. What's that supposed to mean? It means I can't stay locked in this compound forever. Eventually, I need a life beyond these walls. You have a life. Here. I have safety here. That's not the same thing. It's enough for now. For now? Your favorite phrase. Seo-yeon crosses to stand in front of his desk. What happens after now? What's the long-term plan? The long-term plan is keeping you safe. From what? Ji-hoon? His family? Everyone who might want something from you? She gestures toward the security monitors. This isn't protection anymore. It's imprisonment. It's necessary. For who? The question hangs in the air between them. Min-jae's jaw works silently. For everyone involved. he said finally. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting right now. Seok-jin clears his throat quietly. Sir, should I increase patrols around the south wall? Yes. Double them until we're certain the area is secure. And the training session? Postponed. Min-jae stands. I want full security review of all protocols. If someone is testing our defenses, I need to know about it. As Seok-jin leaves to implement the new orders, Seo-yeon remains standing by the desk. You're afraid, she said. I'm careful. You're afraid of losing control again. Something flickers across his features, a crack in the careful mask. Again, he asked quietly. Seok-jin mentioned that your security level changed 3 years ago, after some kind of loss. She watches his face. What happened 3 years ago, Min-jae? The silence stretches long enough for her to think he won't answer. When he finally speaks, his voice is barely above a whisper. I learned that protection isn't always enough. Protection from what? From everything I couldn't predict. What happened? He turns away from her to stare out at the grounds where security teams are already implementing the new patrol routes. That's enough questions for today, he said. But this time, Seo-yeon doesn't leave. She stays by his desk, watching the rigid line of his shoulders and the way his hands grip the windowsill. Whatever happened, she said quietly, it wasn't your fault. You don't know that. I know you. You don't take unnecessary risks with people's lives. You don't know me at all. Then tell me. Help me understand why you're so afraid of letting anyone get close. Min-jae turns back to face her. His eyes are dark with something that looks like pain. Because close gets people killed, he said. Dr. Kim's voice is carefully neutral over the phone. Mrs. Jung is stable, but she's becoming increasingly agitated about being separated from her granddaughter. Min-jae listens while pacing his office. Seo-yeon sits in the chair across from his desk, her hands clenched in her lap. What are her specific concerns? He asked. She believes Miss Han is in some kind of trouble. The fever story isn't convincing her anymore. A pause. She's threatening to discharge herself and take a taxi to look for her granddaughter. She can't travel in her condition. I've explained that. She's not listening. Seo-yeon reaches for the phone. Let me talk to her. Absolutely not, Min-jae said. Phone calls can be monitored. She's going to leave the clinic if I don't. How is that safer? Min-jae considers this while Dr. Kim waits on the line. The calculation plays out across his features. Risk versus necessity. One call, he said finally. Brief, supervised. He activates the speaker and nods to Seo-yeon. Grandmother, she said. It's me. Yeonhee. Yoonhee's voice floods with relief. Where are you? Are you all right? I'm fine. Getting better every day. The nurses say you have a fever, but you sound healthy. It's almost gone. The doctor wants me to rest a few more days before visiting. What doctor? Where are you staying? Seo-yeon glances at Min-jae. His expression is tense. A friend is letting me recover at their house, she said carefully. Somewhere quiet where I can rest properly. What friend? You never mentioned any friend with a house. It's complicated. Complicated how? The silence stretches too long. Seo-yeon can hear her grandmother's breathing change on the other end of the line. Yeonhee, are you in some kind of trouble? No, grandmother, I promise. Then why won't you come see me? Why all these excuses? Min-jae makes a cutting gesture across his throat. End the call. I have to go, Seo-yeon said quickly. But I'll see you very soon. I promise. Wait. Min-jae ends the call. The office falls silent except for the hum of air conditioning. She doesn't believe me, Seo-yeon said. She's sick and worried. That's normal. Normal would be letting me visit her every day like I promised. Normal ended when you ran from your wedding. The words hit like a physical blow. Seo-yeon stands abruptly. So this is my fault. That's not what I said. It's what you meant. She moves toward the door. Everything that's happened is because I made a choice. Because I ran, instead of accepting my fate. Seo-yeon. She stops but doesn't turn around. You saved yourself, he said quietly. And your grandmother. Don't doubt that choice. Then why does it feel like I've trapped us both? Because safety sometimes looks like imprisonment when you're not used to having it. This time she does turn. Is that what this is? Safety? Yes. For who? You keep saying it's for me, but maybe it's for you too. What do you mean? Maybe keeping me locked up here makes you feel better about whatever happened 3 years ago. Min-jae's face goes carefully blank. You don't know what you're talking about. Then tell me. Help me understand. There's nothing to understand. There's everything to understand. Your excessive security, Your inability to let anyone make their own choices. Your fear of enough. The word cuts through her sentence like a blade. Min Jae stands behind his desk, hands flat on its surface. You think I'm doing this for my own psychological comfort? He asked quietly. Aren't you? I'm doing this because Park Ji-hoon is escalating his search pattern, because he sent surveillance devices hidden in funeral flowers, because desperate men with unlimited resources don't give up easily, and because you can't bear the thought of losing someone else. The silence that follows is thick with unspoken history. Min Jae stares at her across the desk. You're right, he said finally. The admission surprises them both. I can't, he continued. I can't lose anyone else. So yes, maybe the security is excessive. Maybe the restrictions are too tight. But everyone under my protection stays alive. Everyone except the person you lost 3 years ago. Something breaks in his expression. Just for a second. Then the mask slides back into place. She was my wife, he said. Her name was So Young. She died because I thought normal security was enough. The confession hangs between them like a bridge, neither expected to cross. I'm sorry, So Young said softly. So am I. Min Jae moves to the window overlooking the grounds. Which is why normal rules don't apply anymore, why safety comes before comfort or convenience or personal desires. What happened to her? Car bomb. Meant for me. His voice is flat, clinical. She was 3 months pregnant. Seo Yeon felt her breath catch. Wife and unborn child. No wonder he builds fortresses around the people he cares about. Min Jae. Now you know, he said without turning around. Now you understand why the restrictions aren't negotiable. She crosses the room to stand beside him at the window. Her reflection appears next to his in the bulletproof glass. She wouldn't want you to live in a fortress, she said quietly. She'd want me to live. Period. This isn't living. It's hiding. It's surviving. Which is more than she got to do. Seo Yeon looks out at the security patrols moving across the grounds. Men with guns protecting a man who's already lost everything that mattered most. I'm not her, she said. I know. And I'm not going to disappear if you give me room to breathe. Min Jae finally turns to look at her. His eyes are dark with old grief. You might, he said, and I can't survive that again. Night settles over the compound like a heavy blanket. Seo Yeon sits in the kitchen after dinner, helping Madam K clean dishes while rain patters against the windows. The silence feels different tonight, weighted with revelation. He told you, Madam K said without looking up from the sink. About his wife. About So Young. And the baby. Seo Yeon dries a plate with careful attention. You knew her? I helped raise her from childhood. Her family worked for the Rees for generations. Madam K's voice is soft. She was like a daughter to me. What was she like? Stubborn, kind, completely unafraid of him when everyone else walked on eggshells. A small smile crosses her features. She used to rearrange his office furniture just to watch him twitch. She sounds wonderful. She was. And she loved him enough to see past all his walls and armor. Madam K looks directly at Seo Yeon, just like someone else I know. Heat rises in Seo Yeon's cheeks. I don't know what you mean, don't you? Before she can respond, the lights flicker, then die completely, plunging the kitchen into darkness. Power's out, Madam K said calmly. Storm must have hit a transformer. Emergency lighting kicks in seconds later, casting everything in dim red glow. Somewhere in the house, a generator hums to life. I should check on Min Jae, Seo Yeon said. He'll be in his office. Generators there run independently. Seo Yeon makes her way through corridors lit by battery-powered strips. The compound feels different in the darkness, more intimate, more vulnerable. She finds Min Jae standing at his office window, watching lightning flash across the sky. He doesn't turn when she enters. Power's out, she said unnecessarily. I noticed. Are you all right? Why wouldn't I be? But his voice carries tension that wasn't there an hour ago. His hands grip the windowsill tightly enough to show white knuckles. Thunder crashes overhead, close enough to shake the windows. Min Jae flinches slightly, then forces himself still. It's just thunder, Seo Yeon said gently. I know what it is. Do you? He turns to look at her in the red-tinged darkness. What's that supposed to mean? Thunder sounds like explosions sometimes. The observation hits its target. Min Jae's jaw tightens. You don't know what you're talking about, don't I? She moves closer. Car bombs are loud. Thunder probably sounds too similar for comfort. Stop. It's okay to be affected by trauma. It's human. I'm fine. But he's not. She can see it in the rigid way he holds himself, the careful control that's starting to crack around the edges. Lightning flashes again, closer this time. The thunder follows immediately, booming overhead like artillery. Min-jae's control finally breaks. His breathing changes. His hands shake slightly before he forces them into fists. Min-jae, Seo-yeon reaches out carefully. You're safe. We're safe. I know that. Then why are you shaking? He looks down at his hands as if surprised to find them trembling. I'm not. Yes, you are. And it's okay. Nothing about this is okay. Having human reactions to inhuman events is the most okay thing in the world. She steps closer until she's standing directly in front of him. Close enough to see the rapid pulse at his throat, close enough to reach out and cover his clenched fists with her hands. Breathe, she said quietly. I'm breathing. Breathe with me. She demonstrates slow, deep breaths until he matches her rhythm. The thunder moves on, growing more distant with each roll. Better? She asked. I'm fine. But he doesn't pull his hands away from hers. If anything, he holds on tighter. You don't have to be fine all the time, she said. Yes, I do. People depend on me to be fine. I'm not people. I'm me. And I've seen you not fine before. When? Right now. This morning when you talked about So Young. Yesterday when you thought someone might be testing our defenses. She pauses. You're human, Min-jae. Flawed and traumatized, and doing your best just like everyone else. My best got my wife killed. Your best saved my life, and my grandmother's life, and probably a dozen other people you won't tell me about. That doesn't balance the scales. There are no scales. There's just right now and what we choose to do with it. The generator hums in the basement below them. Emergency lighting casts strange shadows across the office walls. Outside, the storm continues to move toward the mountains. I can't lose you, he said quietly. You can't control everything that happens to me either. I can try. You can. But that's not protection. That's possession. What's the difference? Protection gives people choices. Possession takes them away. Min-jae looks down at their joined hands. His breathing has steadied, but his grip hasn't loosened. I don't know how to do this any other way, he said. Learn. What if I can't? Then I'll teach you. Something shifts in his expression. Surprise, maybe. Or hope. Why? He asked. Because you matter. Because your wife would want you to live, not just survive. Because, she pauses, searching for words. Because I care about you. You shouldn't. Too late. The power returns with a sudden flood of normal lighting. They blink in the brightness, still standing close together, hands still touching. I should go, Seo-yeon said. Should you? Yes. Before I do something we'll both regret. Like what? She looks at his mouth, then back to his eyes. Like kiss you. The words hang in the air between them. Dangerous. Honest. That would be a mistake, he said. Probably. Definitely. But he doesn't step back. Neither does she. Good night, Min-jae. Good night. She leaves him standing in his office, hands still warm from her touch, wondering when protection started feeling like something else entirely. The call comes at dawn. Seo-yeon jolts awake to the sound of her door opening and Madam K's urgent voice. Get dressed. Now. What's wrong? Someone tried to access your grandmother's medical records last night. Dr. Kim called an hour ago. Seo-yeon's blood turns cold. Is she safe? For now. But Mr. Ri wants to move her. In minutes, Seo-yeon is dressed, and downstairs, where Min-jae stands in the entrance hall giving rapid orders to Sok-jin. 3-car convoy. Different route to the clinic. I want advance teams sweeping every block. Already in motion, sir. And the new safe house? Prepared and staffed. Medical equipment installed yesterday. Min-jae turns to Seo-yeon. Your grandmother is being moved to a more secure location. Better medical facilities. Better protection. Where? A private facility outside the city. Completely off any official records. For how long? Until this is over. And when will that be? His jaw tightens. Soon. The drive to the clinic takes twice as long as usual with all the security precautions. Seo-yeon sits in the back seat watching the city pass by through tinted windows, her stomach churning with worry. The attempted access, she said. Was it Ji-hoon? His people. Definitely. Min-jae checks his phone. Amateur job. But they got farther than they should have. How far? Far enough to confirm she's a patient there, which means Ji-hoon knows exactly where Eun-hee is. The clinic that felt safe yesterday is now compromised. At the medical facility, they find organized chaos. staff packing medical equipment into specialized transport cases. Dr. Kim issuing final instructions to the transfer team. Mrs. Jung is stable for transport, he reports, but she's not happy about the move. They find Eun-hee sitting on the edge of her bed, fully dressed despite the early hour. Her expression is mutinous. "I'm not going anywhere," she announced as soon as she sees them. "I want to go home. Grandmother, it's not safe. Nowhere is safe, but at least home is familiar." "The new facility has better equipment," Min-jae said. "Better security." "I don't need better security. I need my granddaughter and my own bed and tea that doesn't taste like medicine." Seo-yeon sits beside her grandmother on the narrow hospital bed. "It's temporary. Everything is temporary with him." Eun-hee looks directly at Min-jae. "When does temporary end? When you're both safe. When will that be?" "Soon." "That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have." Eun-hee studies Min-jae's face with sharp intelligence. "You're afraid." "I'm careful. You're afraid of losing her the way you lost someone else." The observation cuts deep. Min-jae's expression hardens. "Mrs. Jung, we need to move quickly. I lost my son in a factory accident when Seo-yeon was 5. Eun-hee continued calmly. "Her parents died young and left her with an old woman who couldn't even afford proper medicine for her heart." "Grandmother," Seo-yeon said quietly, "let me finish." Eun-hee's voice was firm. "I know what loss looks like. I know what fear looks like. And I know the difference between protection and control." Min-jae stands very still. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that keeping her locked away from everything that matters isn't protection. It's preparation for loss." Eun-hee reaches for Seo-yeon's hand. "If you truly care about her, you'll trust her to make her own choices. Her choices put her in danger. Everything puts her in danger. Life puts her in danger. But hiding isn't living. It's surviving. For who? Her or you?" The question hangs in the air like a challenge. Before Min-jae can respond, Seok-jin appears in the doorway. "Sir, we need to move. Possible surveillance vehicle spotted 3 blocks south." The moment breaks. Min-jae's expression shifts back to professional alertness. "Transport ready?" he asked. "Medical ambulance and 2 escort vehicles. Route clear for now. Let's go." Eun-hee allows herself to be helped into a wheelchair without further protest, but her eyes stay fixed on Min-jae as they move through the clinic corridors. "Think about what I said," she tells him as they reach the ambulance. "Fear makes poor decisions." The transfer takes 20 minutes through Seoul's morning traffic. The new facility sits hidden among trees on a hillside, looking more like an exclusive resort than a medical center. "Beautiful," Eun-hee admits as they wheel her toward the entrance. "But I still want to go home." "Soon," Seo-yeon promises. "Soon," Eun-hee repeats. That word again. Inside, the facility is indeed beautiful. Private rooms with panoramic views, state-of-the-art equipment, staff who move with quiet efficiency. "Your grandmother will have 24-hour medical supervision," Dr. Kim explains, "plus full security monitoring." "How long?" Eun-hee asked. "Until it's safe for you to return to normal life." "And when will that be?" Dr. Kim glances at Min-jae. "Soon?" "Soon," Eun-hee says dryly. "Of course." As they settle her into her new room, Seo-yeon realizes that moving her grandmother to better security might have solved one problem but created another. Now they're both in beautiful cages, and Ji-hoon is still out there, patient as a spider, waiting for his next opportunity to reclaim what he considers his property. The warehouse sits empty in Seoul's industrial district. Concrete floors, metal beams, windows too dirty to see through clearly. Perfect for private meetings that require absolute discretion. Seok-jin speaks quietly into his phone as he guides the sedan through narrow streets lined with shipping containers. Perimeter secure. No unusual surveillance detected. In the back seat, Min-jae stares out at the urban landscape. Factories, loading docks, the kind of place where business gets handled without paperwork or witnesses. "Sir," Seok-jin asks as they approach their destination. "Final confirmation?" "Confirmed." The warehouse door opens as they park. 2 men emerge to meet them, professional, armed. They nod respectfully to Min-jae as he exits the sedan. "Is it handled?" he asked without preamble. "Yes, sir. No complications. Evidence? Cleaned. Route sanitized. Message delivered." Min-jae nods once. "Good. What about the leak?" "Junior security staff at the clinic. Park's people got to him with money and threats." The man pauses. "He's been handled as well." How? Alive but reassigned. Very far from Seoul, very far from Park's influence. He'll stay quiet. He values his family's safety. He'll stay quiet. Back at the compound, Seo-yeon paces the main living room while Madam K tries to distract her with tea and small conversation. The hours since Min-jae left have dragged by with suffocating slowness. Where did he go? She asks for the third time. Business, Madam K replies patiently. What kind of business? The kind that keeps you and your grandmother safe. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting. Through the tall windows, Seo-yeon watches the sun sink toward the horizon. Golden light slants across the compound's grounds, making everything look peaceful and normal. But normal has become a word that no longer applies to her life. He's been gone for hours, she said. Mr. Ri handles his business thoroughly. What if something happened to him? Nothing happened to him. How can you be so sure? Madam K sets down her teacup and looks directly at Seo-yeon. Because men like Park Ji-hoon don't challenge men like Ri Min-jae directly. They probe and test and look for weaknesses, but they don't attack head-on. Why not? Because they know they'd lose. The front door opens with the soft chime of the security system disengaging. Footsteps echo in the marble entrance hall. Seo-yeon turns toward the sound, relief flooding through her chest. Min-jae appears in the doorway, still wearing his business suit but looking somehow different. Tired. Grimmer than when he left. Everything all right? Madam K asked. Handled. His voice is flat, professional. But Seo-yeon notices something that makes her stomach clench. A small dark stain on his shirt cuff, barely visible unless you're looking for it. Min-jae. She stands and moves closer. Your shirt. He follows her gaze to the stain, and his expression doesn't change. Occupational hazard. What kind of... It's handled, he repeats. The threat is neutralized. The words sound final. Complete. But they raise more questions than they answer. What threat? What did you neutralize? Park's ability to track your grandmother through medical records. His network of informants at the clinic. Min-jae unbuttons his suit jacket. The leak has been plugged. How? You don't need to know how. Yes, I do. If people are getting hurt because of me. People were getting hurt because of Park Ji-hoon. Now they're not. That's not the same thing, isn't it? Seo-yeon stares at the dark stain on his cuff, at the careful blankness in his expression, at the way he stands like someone who's just finished unpleasant work. You killed someone, she said quietly. I solved a problem. By killing someone. By ensuring your grandmother's location remains secure and the people responsible for compromising it understand the consequences of their actions. Clinical language. Professional distance. The voice of someone who separates necessary violence from personal emotion. I can't be the reason people die, Seo-yeon said. You're not. Park Ji-hoon is. But if I hadn't run, if you hadn't run, you'd be married to an abuser, and your grandmother would be dead within a month from neglect. His voice cuts through her guilt. Everyone who chooses to work with Park's organization knows the risks. And you? What risks do you know? Something flickers across his features. All of them. Madam K stands and begins clearing the tea service. I'll leave you two to discuss this privately. When they're alone, silence stretches between them like a bridge neither wants to cross. Are you afraid of me now? Min-jae asked finally. Seo-yeon considers the question honestly. Should I be? Most people are. I'm not most people. No, you're not. She moves closer until she's standing directly in front of him, close enough to see exhaustion in his eyes, close enough to reach out and touch the stain on his cuff. Did you have a choice? She asked. There's always a choice. Did you have a good choice? The distinction matters. He studies her face as if trying to read her thoughts. No, he said finally. There were no good choices today. Then you made the best choice available. Does that make it right? I don't know, but it makes it human. Min-jae looks down at her hand, still touching his sleeve. You should be horrified. I should be, but I'm not. She pauses. I'm grateful. For what? For someone who cares enough about my safety to make impossible choices. She meets his eyes. For someone who comes home afterward. Seo-yeon. Yes? This isn't who I wanted to be for you, but it's who you are. And who you are is someone who protects the people you care about. Whatever the cost. She reaches up to touch his face. I can live with that. Can you? As long as you come home. Something breaks in his expression. The careful control cracks just enough to show the man underneath the armor. Always, he said quietly. I'll always come home to you. The promise settles between them like a vow. The inner wing of the compound feels different at night, quieter, more intimate. Seo-yeon's new room overlooks the gardens where security lights create pools of warm illumination between the shadows. She stands at the window in her nightgown, unable to sleep. 3 days have passed since Min Jae's business trip. 3 days of normal routine that feels anything but normal. Through the wall, she hears footsteps. Min Jae's room is adjacent to hers, a security precaution that now feels like something else entirely. The footsteps pause outside her door. She holds her breath, waiting. They move on. Seo-yeon presses her forehead against the cool glass and tries to name what she's feeling. Gratitude for his protection. Fear of the violence that makes it possible. Something deeper that she's not ready to examine too closely. The sea whispers beyond the compound's walls. Constant rhythm like a heartbeat or breathing. A soft knock interrupts her thoughts. "Come in," she said. Min Jae appears in the doorway, still dressed despite the late hour. His shirt sleeves are rolled up, and his tie is missing. More casual than she's ever seen him. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Too quiet. I'm used to city noise. The ocean takes some getting used to. How long have you lived here?" 3 years. He moves to stand beside her at the window. Since after his wife died, after his world collapsed, and he built walls tall enough to keep everyone safe, or everyone out. "Do you like it here?" she asked. "It serves its purpose." "That's not what I asked." Min Jae considers the question while they watch security patrols move across the grounds below. "I like the idea of it," he said finally. "Isolation, control, predictable perimeters. But it's lonely." The admission surprises them both. Min Jae's jaw tightens as if he regrets saying it. "You have Madam K. Sok-jin, your staff. That's not the same thing." "No, it's not." They stand in comfortable silence while the sea continues its endless conversation with the shore. The window reflects both their faces back at them, his sharp and controlled, hers softer but watchful. "I've been thinking about what your grandmother said," Min Jae said. "Which part?" "About protection versus control. About fear making poor decisions. She's a wise woman." "She's right." His voice was quiet. "I have been making decisions based on fear rather than wisdom." Seo-yeon turns to face him fully. "Such as? Keeping you isolated here, restricting your choices, treating you like something to be protected rather than someone to be trusted. You're protecting me from a real threat. I'm protecting myself from losing you. There's a difference." The honesty cuts through her defenses. She reaches out to touch his arm. "What would trusting me look like?" she asked. "I don't know. I'm out of practice. Start small." "Such as?" Seo-yeon thinks for a moment. "Let me make breakfast tomorrow. For everyone. No restrictions on kitchen access or supervision." "That's hardly—" "Start small," she repeats. "Trust me with breakfast. See what happens." Min Jae looks down at her hand, still touching his arm. "And if something goes wrong, then we'll handle it together." "Together?" "Partners, allies. Whatever word makes you more comfortable." "I like partners." "Good. Partners it is." Something shifts in the space between them. The air feels charged with possibility and danger in equal measure. "Seo-yeon," his voice was careful. "There's something else." "What?" "The way I feel about you. It's not just protective anymore." Her breath catches. "What is it?" "More complicated. More dangerous." "For who?" "For both of us." She steps closer until they're separated by inches rather than feet. Close enough to see the rapid pulse at his throat. Close enough to feel the warmth radiating from his skin. "I'm not afraid of dangerous," she said quietly. "You should be." "Why?" "Because I don't know how to do this without losing myself completely." "Then don't lose yourself. Find yourself instead." "In you?" "With me." The distinction seems to matter to him. His eyes search her face as if looking for answers to questions he's afraid to ask. "This is a mistake," he said. "Probably. Definitely. Are you going to make it anyway?" "I don't know." But he doesn't step back. And neither does she. "Good night, Min Jae." "Good night." This time when he leaves, his footsteps linger outside her door for a full minute before moving on. Seo-yeon returns to the window and watches the gardens where security lights keep watch over sleeping flowers. Tomorrow she'll make breakfast. Small trust, small step. But trust has to start somewhere. Morning light streams through the kitchen windows as Seo-yeon moves between stove and counter with practiced efficiency. Rice bubbles in the cooker. Soup simmers with the rich scent of bone broth and vegetables. Banchan dishes fill small bowls with colors that rival the sunrise. Madam K watches from the doorway, trying to look disapproving but failing to hide her approval. "You're making too much food," she said. "There's no such thing as too much food when you're cooking for people you care about." Seok-jin appears in the kitchen carrying his morning security briefing. "Smells incredible in here." "Thank you. Sit." Seo-yeon points to the small table by the windows. "Breakfast is almost ready." "I usually eat at my desk." "Not today. Today we eat together." "Miss Han," Seok-jin said carefully, "I'm not sure Mr. Ri would approve of." "Mr. Ri will eat what I cook and sit where I tell him to sit." Seo-yeon's voice carries mock authority. "Today, I'm in charge of breakfast." Min-jae's voice comes from the doorway. "Are you now?" She turns to find him watching the scene with something that might be amusement. His hair is slightly damp from the shower, and he's wearing a casual shirt instead of his usual formal attire. "I am," she said firmly. "Partners, remember? This is me being a partner. By commandeering my kitchen, by feeding your family." The word hangs in the air between them. Family, not staff or employees or people, under his protection. "Family," Min-jae repeats quietly, "if you're comfortable with that term." He studies the scene, Madam K arranging place settings, Seok-jin reading security reports at the sunny table, Seo-yeon moving through the morning routine with confident ease. "I could get comfortable with it," he said. "Good, because you're about to eat my grandmother's recipe for kimchi jjigae, and I need honest feedback." They settle around the table as Seo-yeon serves dish after dish. The conversation flows easier than usual. Madam K tells stories about managing household staff. Seok-jin shares carefully edited tales from his security work. Min-jae listens more than he speaks, but contributes when drawn into the discussion. "This soup," he said after his second bowl, "is exceptional. Eun-hee taught me to cook when I was 12. She said feeding people was the most basic form of love. She was right. She usually is." Min-jae's phone buzzes against the table. He glances at it, and his expression shifts slightly. "Problem?" Seok-jin asked. "Dr. Kim, your grandmother wants to speak with you directly about something." Min-jae looks at Seo-yeon. She's refusing to discuss it with anyone else. Seo-yeon felt her chest tighten. Is she all right? Physically stable, but determined to be difficult about whatever's on her mind. "Let me talk to her. Phone calls can be monitored, I know. But she's scared and alone and probably thinks I've abandoned her." Seo-yeon stands. 5 minutes, please." Min-jae considers this while finishing his coffee. The careful calculation she's learned to recognize plays across his features. Secured line, speakerphone, brief conversation. "Thank you." In his office, Dr. Kim's voice comes through clearly on the conference system. "Mrs. Jung has been asking about discharge procedures," he reports. "She wants to go home." "Put her on," Min-jae said. "Yoni?" Yoon-hee's voice fills the room. "Are you there?" "I'm here. Grandmother. This place is very nice, but I want to go to my own apartment. Sleep in my own bed. The new facility is safer." "Safer for who? I'm an old woman with a bad heart. How much danger can I possibly be in?" Min-jae and Seo-yeon exchange glances. "Grandmother," Seo-yeon said carefully, "the doctor says you need continued monitoring." "The doctor says many things. Most of them involve expensive tests and medications I don't need." Eun-hee's voice is firm. "I want to go home. With you." "That's not possible right now." "Why not?" The question demands an honest answer. Seo-yeon looks at Min-jae, who nods once. "Because the man I was supposed to marry is still looking for me. And for you. Let him look. I'm not afraid of Park Ji-hoon." "You should be." "Should I? Or are you afraid for me?" The distinction hits home. Seo-yeon realizes her grandmother is asking the same questions she's been asking Min-jae. "Both," she admits. "Fear is useful when it keeps you alive. Fear is dangerous when it keeps you from living." Eun-hee pauses. "Which kind are you choosing?" Before Seo-yeon can answer, Eun-hee continues. "I want to meet this man who's protecting you, face to face. Grandmother, if I'm going to trust him with my granddaughter's safety, I should at least know what kind of man he is." Min-jae leans toward the speaker. "Mrs. Jung, I understand your concerns." "Do you? Then you'll understand why I want to look you in the eye when we discuss my granddaughter's future." "Her future? How long do you plan to keep her locked away? What happens when this threat is resolved? What are your intentions toward her?" Seo-yeon felt heat rise in her cheeks. "Grandmother, these are reasonable questions. If he's an honorable man, he'll give reasonable answers." Min-jae sits back in his chair. Something that might be admiration crosses his features. "You're right," he said. "Those are reasonable questions that deserve honest answers. Then come give them, both of you, today. The security risk is manageable," Eun-hee said firmly. "Unless you think an old woman in a cardiac care facility poses some kind of threat." Min-jae and Seo-yeon look at each other. She can see him weighing risks against benefits, security protocols against human need. "1 hour," he said finally. "Full security detail. We leave if anything feels wrong." "Agreed." After Dr. Kim ends the call, they sit in silence for several moments. "She's formidable," Min-jae said. "She raised me alone after my parents died. Formidable doesn't begin to cover it. And she's right. About the reasonable questions. What will you tell her? The truth, whatever that is." Seo-yeon studies his profile as he stares out at the grounds. "Do you know what the truth is?" "Some of it. And the rest?" "The rest depends on choices neither of us has made yet." Outside, gardeners tend the compound's flowers, while security teams run their morning perimeter checks. Normal routine in an abnormal life. "Min-jae?" Seo-yeon said quietly. "Yes? Thank you. For breakfast. For letting me cook for everyone. Thank you for making it feel like home instead of a fortress." "Is that what it felt like?" "It felt like family," he said, "which is something I'd forgotten was possible." The drive to the medical facility takes 40 minutes through Seoul's afternoon traffic. 3-car convoy with advanced security teams sweeping the route. Seo-yeon sits in the back seat beside Min-jae, watching the city pass by through bulletproof glass. "Nervous?" he asked. "About the security situation or about you meeting my grandmother?" "Both." "She'll like you," Seo-yeon said. "Once she's satisfied you're not planning to lock me away forever. And if I were, then she'd find a way to break me out. Don't underestimate old Korean women with strong opinions." Min-jae's mouth quirks into something almost like a smile. "I wouldn't dream of it." The medical facility appears peaceful in the afternoon sunlight. Manicured gardens, discreet security, elderly patients moving slowly along covered walkways with nurses in attendance. "All clear," Seok-jin reports from the front seat. Dr. Kim confirms no unusual activity around Mrs. Jung's wing. They enter through a private entrance that bypasses the main lobby. Dr. Kim meets them in the hallway, looking slightly harried. "She's been asking about you every hour," he tells Seo-yeon. "Very determined to have this conversation. How is she medically?" "Stable, responding well to treatment, but increasingly agitated about the separation." They find Eun-hee sitting in a chair by the window, fully dressed and alert. Her oxygen levels are better than they've been in months, but her expression is all business. "Yoni," she opens her arms for an embrace. "You look well. So do you. The treatment here is helping. The treatment is excellent. The isolation is unnecessary." Eun-hee looks directly at Min-jae. "You must be Min-jae. Mrs. Jung. It's an honor to meet you." "Honor," she repeats. "We'll see about that. Sit down, both of you." They arrange themselves in the small conversation area, while Dr. Kim makes polite excuses to leave them privacy. Through the windows, Seoul spreads out in afternoon haze. "First question," Eun-hee said without preamble. "What are your intentions toward my granddaughter?" Min-jae doesn't flinch at the directness. "To keep her safe until the threat against her is resolved. And after that?" "After that depends on what she chooses to do." "What she chooses, not what you decide is best for her. Her choices, her life." Eun-hee studies his face with sharp intelligence. "You're in love with her." Heat rises in Seo-yeon's cheeks. "Grandmother, it's not a secret. Anyone with eyes can see it." Eun-hee continues to focus on Min-jae. "The question is whether you'll let that love become another cage." "I hope not. Hope isn't enough. Love without respect becomes possession. Possession becomes imprisonment." "I know. Do you? Or do you think keeping her safe is the same as making her happy?" The question cuts deep. Min-jae's hands tighten in his lap. "I'm learning the difference," he said quietly. "Good, because she deserves both safety and happiness. In equal measure." "Yes, ma'am." Eun-hee turns to Seo-yeon. "And you? What do you want?" "I want to stop being afraid. I want to visit you whenever I choose. I want a life that's mine instead of something that happens to me." "And him?" Eun-hee nods toward Min-jae. "Where does he fit in this life you want?" Seo-yeon looks at Min-jae's profile as he stares out the window. Strong jaw, careful control, hands that shake slightly when thunder reminds him of car bombs. "I don't know yet," she said honestly, "but I'd like the chance to find out." Without his protection, with his partnership, the distinction seems to matter to Yoon-hee. She nods approvingly. Good answer. She looks between them. Now, about this threat from Park Ji-hoon. Mrs. Jung, Min-jae said, you don't need to worry. I've been alive for 72 years. I've survived poverty, war, loss, and raising a granddaughter alone. Don't tell me what I need to worry about. Her voice is steel wrapped in silk. Tell me about Park Ji-hoon. Min-jae considers his words carefully. He's dangerous. He has resources. He considers Seo-yeon his property due to the marriage contract. And you? What do you consider her? Someone who deserves better than being anyone's property. Including yours? Especially mine. Yoon-hee leans back in her chair. You may be worth keeping after all. Before anyone can respond to this assessment, Seok-jin's voice crackles through Min-jae's earpiece. Sir, we have a situation. Van approaching from the east entrance. No scheduled deliveries. Min-jae's expression shifts to full alertness. How many occupants? At least 4, possibly more. They're stopping at the main entrance. Lock down this wing, prep the vehicles. Already done. Seo-yeon felt her stomach clench. What's happening? Possible approach by Ji-hoon's people. We're leaving. Now. Wait, Yoon-hee said. I want to come with you. Absolutely not. You're safer here. Safer? They just found me here despite all your security. Yoon-hee struggles to stand. If they want to use me as leverage, at least let me be with my granddaughter when they try. You're not medically stable for transport. I'm medically stable enough to make my own choices. Yoon-hee's voice cuts through his protest. Dr. Kim has already prepared discharge papers. I was planning to ask you to take me home anyway. Grandmother, Seo-yeon said. This isn't your choice to make. Yoon-hee looks directly at Min-jae. Either you trust people to make their own decisions, or you don't. Which kind of man are you? Through the window, Seo-yeon sees the van Seok-jin mentioned. Black, tinted windows, men getting out in careful formation. We don't have time for philosophical discussions, Min-jae said. If you're coming, we leave now. I'm coming. Dr. Kim appears with a wheelchair and portable oxygen tank. Mrs. Jung, I strongly advise. Noted and ignored. Yoon-hee settles into the wheelchair with dignity. Let's go. The evacuation happens with military precision. Service elevator to the basement level. Private garage where 3 vehicles wait with engines running. Mrs. Jung in the middle car with Dr. Kim. Min-jae orders. Full medical support in case of emergency. And me? Seo-yeon asked. With me, front car. As they climb into the sedan, Seo-yeon looks back to see her grandmother being carefully transferred to the medical vehicle. Alert, determined, unafraid. She's remarkable, Min-jae said. She's brave. So are you. I'm terrified. Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite fear. The convoy pulls out of the garage and into Seoul traffic. Behind them, the medical facility grows smaller in the distance. Where are we going? Seo-yeon asked. Home, where I can protect you both properly. Together? Together. For the first time in weeks, the word feels like a promise instead of a compromise. The compound's medical suite has been prepared for Yoon-hee's arrival. Hospital bed, positioned by the windows. Monitoring equipment that Dr. Kim assures everyone is superior to what most hospitals provide. Oxygen tank and medications arranged within easy reach. Much better, Yoon-hee pronounces as they settle her into the room. I can see the ocean, and we can monitor your condition properly, Dr. Kim adds. All your medications, oxygen levels, cardiac function. While keeping her safe, Min-jae said. While keeping us all together, Seo-yeon corrects. The distinction seems to matter to him. He nods. While keeping the family together, he agrees. Evening falls as they establish new routines. Seo-yeon helps her grandmother with dinner while Madam K hovers protectively. Dr. Kim reviews medical charts. Security teams adjust their patterns to account for the additional person requiring protection. It's different here, Yoon-hee observes as they sit together watching the sunset over the ocean. Quieter than the city. Do you mind? I like it. Reminds me of the coastal village where I grew up. Yoon-hee adjusts her oxygen cannula. Before the war changed everything. You never told me you grew up by the sea. Some memories are too beautiful to share until you find the right place to remember them. Through the medical suite's windows, they watch security patrols move across the grounds. Discreet, professional, armed. He cares about you, Yoon-hee said quietly. I know. More than he's comfortable with. I know that too. Are you comfortable with it? Seo-yeon considers the question, while evening light fades over the water. I'm comfortable with him. The rest we'll figure out as we go. Good approach. Love isn't something you plan, it's something you discover. Who said anything about love? You did, just now, without using the word. Heat rises in Seo-yeon's cheeks. Grandmother. What? I'm old but I'm not blind. Eun-hee reaches for her hand. The question is what you plan to do about it. Before Seo-yeon can answer, Min-jae appears in the doorway. His expression is carefully neutral, but she notices tension in his shoulders. Mrs. Jung, how are you settling in? Very well, thank you. The room is lovely. Good. Dr. Kim says your vitals are stable. For an old woman, yes. Min-jae almost smiles at that. For anyone, age is just a number. Spoken like a young man who's never had his heart try to quit in the middle of the night. Point taken. They chat about comfortable topics while Seo-yeon listens to the easy conversation between them. Her grandmother testing his character with gentle questions, Min-jae responding with careful honesty. Seo-yeon, he said eventually, could I speak with you privately? They step into the hallway where Seok-jin waits with his evening security briefing. Problem? She asked. Intel suggests Ji-hoon is planning something more direct. The approach at the clinic was reconnaissance, testing response times and security protocols. For what? For whatever comes next. Seok-jin clears his throat. Sir? The perimeter sweeps detected unusual electronic activity about an hour ago. Brief but sophisticated. Surveillance equipment? Possibly. Or communication devices coordinating multiple positions. Min-jae's jaw tightens. How many positions? At least 3. Maybe more. Seo-yeon felt her chest constrict. He's surrounding us. He's trying to. But this compound has advantages he doesn't understand yet. Such as underground passages, hidden exits, contingency plans he can't predict. Min-jae looks directly at her. But if this escalates, I need you to follow orders without question. What kind of orders? The kind that keep you alive. And my grandmother? Her too. But she's not going to like some of the protocols. Such as safe room lockdown. No arguments, no delays. Complete compliance until the situation is resolved. Seo-yeon thinks about her grandmother's reaction to being locked away again. She'll fight you, then convince her not to. How? Explain that her safety is the only leverage Ji-hoon has left. Remove that leverage, and he loses most of his power over you. And after that? After that, I remove him from the equation entirely. The words carry weight she's learned to recognize. Final solutions. Permanent resolutions. Min-jae, yes? When this is over, really, over what happens to us. What do you want to happen? I want to choose, not have choices made for me by fear or necessity or obligation. And if you choose to leave, the question seems to cost him something to ask. His voice is carefully controlled. Then I'll make sure you and your grandmother have everything you need to start fresh, somewhere safe, somewhere far from all of this. And if I choose to stay, then we figure out what that looks like. Together. Partners? Partners. Equals. Whatever arrangement makes you happy. Before she can respond, an alarm chimes softly throughout the compound. Security alert. What is that? She asked. Seok-jin speaks into his radio. Control, this is Seok-jin. Status? Motion sensors triggered at multiple points along the perimeter. No visual confirmation yet, but pattern suggests coordinated approach. Min-jae's expression hardens. How many vehicles? At least 2 confirmed. Possibly more staging outside sensor range. Time to implement lockdown protocols. Yes, sir. Min-jae turns to Seo-yeon. Get your grandmother ready to move to the safe room. Tell her it's precautionary but non-negotiable. Where will you be? Handling the situation. Meaning this ends tonight. One way or another. He starts to move away, but she catches his arm. Min-jae, promise me something. What? Promise me you'll come back. Something shifts in his expression. The careful control cracks enough to show the man underneath. Always, he said quietly. I'll always come back to you. The promise settles between them like a vow as security alarms continue to sound throughout the compound. Outside, Ji-hoon's men move through the darkness toward what they think is an easy target. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The safe room sits 3 levels below the compound's main floor. Reinforced steel walls, independent air supply. Communications equipment monitored by security personnel who don't exist on any official records. Seo-yeon helps her grandmother into the medical bed that's been installed for her comfort. Portable monitoring equipment hums quietly in the background. Dr. Kim checks IV lines and medication levels with calm efficiency. "This is unnecessary," Yoon-hee said. "I'm not afraid of Park Ji-hoon. You don't have to be afraid of him, but you do have to be smart about him." Seo-yeon adjusts the oxygen cannula. "He'll use you to get to me if he can. Let him try." "Grandmother." "What? I may be old, but I'm not helpless." Yoon-hee's eyes are sharp despite her physical frailty. "I've survived worse than spoiled young men with too much money." Through the safe room's reinforced speakers, they can hear security communications from above. Perimeter breach confirmed at Grid 7. Multiple vehicles approaching from the south access road. Motion sensors show at least 8 individuals on foot. "Are they coming for us?" Yoon-hee asked. "They're coming for me," Seo-yeon said. "You're just leverage." "Then perhaps we should remove that leverage." "What do you mean?" "I mean, perhaps it's time to stop hiding and start fighting back." Before Seo-yeon can ask what she means, Madam K appears in the safe room doorway. "Status report from upstairs," she said. "Mr. Ri wants you to know the situation is under control." "What kind of control?" "The kind where uninvited guests receive educational experiences about property boundaries." "He's not killing them?" "He's not killing them. Yet." Madam K's voice was dry. "But the night is young." More security chatter filters through the speakers. Eastern perimeter secured. 3 individuals detained. South approach neutralized. No casualties. Main entry team has withdrawn to staging position. "They're retreating?" Seo-yeon asked. "Regrouping," Madam K corrected. "Mr. Park's people are learning that this compound has more defenses than they anticipated." Dr. Kim looks up from his monitoring equipment. "Mrs. Jung's stress levels are elevated, but within acceptable ranges. The safe room environment is helping maintain her stability." "Because it's quiet," Yoon-hee said. "No explosions or gunfire. Whoever this Min Jae is, he handles violence very efficiently." "Is that good or bad?" Seo-yeon asked. "Good. Loud violence means desperation. Quiet violence means competence." The security communications changed tone. "Sir, we have movement at the main gate." "Single vehicle approaching under white flag protocol." Min Jae's voice comes through clearly. "Visual confirmation of occupants?" "Driver plus 2 passengers. One matches Park Ji-hoon's description." "He's here," Seo-yeon whispered. "Good," Yoon-hee said firmly. "Time to end this properly." "Sir," the security voice continues. "Instructions? Let them approach the main entrance. Full coverage, but hold positions unless they demonstrate hostile intent." "Copy that." Madam K moves to the communication panel. "Sir, the family is secure in safe room 3. All medical equipment functioning normally." "Good. Maintain position until I give all clear." "Understood." The safe room falls quiet except for the steady hum of life support equipment and air filtration systems. Above them, footsteps echo through the compound as security teams take their positions. "What do you think he wants?" Seo-yeon asked. "To negotiate," Yoon-hee said. "Men like Park Ji-hoon prefer deals to warfare when they're outgunned. And if Min Jae refuses to negotiate, then Mr. Park learns what happens when you threaten family." "Family." The word settles in the air between them with weight Seo-yeon is still learning to carry. "I never asked for this," she said quietly. "Asked for what? Protection? Safety? Someone who cares enough to build walls around the people he loves? I never asked to be loved. Nobody asks for love. It happens anyway. The question is what you do with it once it arrives. What should I do with it? Accept it. Cherish it. Fight for it when necessary." Yoon-hee reaches for her hand. "Love like this doesn't come along often." "How do you know what kind of love it is?" "Because I see how he looks at you. Like you're the answer to questions he didn't know he was asking." "And how do I look at him?" "The same way." Through the speakers, they hear the sound of vehicles stopping, car doors closing, footsteps on gravel. "Here we go," Madam K murmured. "Sir?" The security voice sounds tense. "They're requesting a meeting. Just Park Ji-hoon and Mr. Ri. No weapons. No security detail. Position? Main entrance. Neutral ground. Tell Mr. Park I'll meet him in 5 minutes, and that this conversation will be brief." "Copy." Seo-yeon felt her stomach clench. "He's going to face Ji-hoon alone." Not alone," Madam K said. "Never alone. Mr. Ri doesn't take unnecessary risks with his own safety. What if Ji-hoon tries something? Then Mr. Park learns why people in Seoul speak Ri Min-jae's name with respect rather than casual dismissal. The security communications quiet as teams take their final positions. Above them, two men prepare to have a conversation that will determine whether tonight ends in peace or violence. Seo-yeon closes her eyes and listens to her grandmother's steady breathing, to the medical equipment that keeps her alive. To the silence, that means Min-jae is walking into potential danger to protect them both. "Come back," she whispers to the empty air. "Whatever happens up there, just come back." As if in answer, his voice comes through the speakers one more time. "Beginning approach to main entrance. All units hold position and await further orders." Then silence, complete silence, while the most important conversation of their lives happens 3 floors above them. The safe room's silence stretches until Seo-yeon can hear her own heartbeat. 20 minutes have passed since the security communications went quiet. 20 minutes of wondering what's happening above ground. "Should it take this long?" she asked. "Negotiations take as long as they take," Yoon-hee said. "Patience. I'm not good at patience." Neither is he, which is why this will resolve quickly. Dr. Kim monitors his equipment, while Madam K paces the small space. Everyone waiting, everyone listening for sounds that don't come. Then the communication speaker crackles to life. "All units, this is control. Stand down to yellow alert. Immediate threat has been neutralized." "Neutralized how?" Madam K asked into her microphone. "Peaceful resolution. Mr. Park and his people are departing the premises. Sir's status, unharmed. Returning to compound now." Relief floods through Seo-yeon's chest so suddenly she feels dizzy. "It's over?" "Appears to be," Madam K said, "but we wait for confirmation before leaving the safe room." 5 more minutes pass before Min-jae's voice comes through clearly. "Safe room 3, this is Min-jae. All clear. You can come up now." They make the journey slowly to accommodate Eun-hee's wheelchair and medical equipment. The compound feels different as they emerge into the main level. Quieter, somehow lighter. Min-jae waits in the entrance hall. His clothes are undisturbed, no signs of violence, but something in his expression has changed. A weight lifted or a problem finally solved. "What happened?" Seo-yeon asked immediately. "Park Ji-hoon and I reached an understanding." "What kind of understanding?" "The kind where he withdraws his claim on you permanently in exchange for avoiding consequences for tonight's intrusion." "That's all? He just agreed to leave me alone?" "He agreed after I explained what those consequences would look like." Min-jae's voice was calm. "In detail." Yoon-hee studies his face from her wheelchair. "You didn't have to kill anyone." "No, I didn't. But you could have." "Yes, I could have." And he understood that. He understood that completely. Seo-yeon looks between them. "What exactly did you tell him?" "That his choice was simple. Walk away tonight and never approach you or your grandmother again, or face the reality that his family's business interests are far more vulnerable than he realized." "You threatened his family?" "I informed him of existing vulnerabilities in their operations, vulnerabilities that could become problematic if he continued to pursue what doesn't belong to him." "Such as?" "Regulatory oversights, tax irregularities, import documentation that doesn't quite match customs records." Min-jae's voice was matter of fact. "The kind of issues that attract government attention when brought to the right people." "You had evidence of illegal activities?" "I had evidence of activities that could be interpreted as illegal with the proper presentation." Yoon-hee made a sound that might have been approval. "Elegant. No violence necessary, but the threat was real." "The threat was very real." Mr. Park chose wisely. Madam K clears her throat. "Perhaps we should continue this discussion somewhere more comfortable." "Mrs. Young needs to rest after all the excitement." They move to the main living room where the medical equipment can be properly arranged. Dr. Kim checks Yoon-hee's vitals while everyone settles into chairs that feel more like home than hideout for the first time in weeks. "So it's really over?" Seo-yeon asked. "It's over," Min-jae confirmed. "You're free to make whatever choices you want about your future." "Including leaving here if I choose?" "Including that. And if I choose to stay, then we figure out what that looks like. Together? If you want." Seo-yeon looks around the room. At her grandmother resting comfortably with proper medical care, at Madam K and Dr. Kim who've become family, at Min-jae watching her with careful hope in his dark eyes. "I want," she said quietly. Something shifts in his expression. Relief. Joy. Something deeper that he's not ready to name yet. "Good," he said, "because I was hoping you'd want to stay." "Why?" Because this place feels like home when you're in it. And when I'm not, when you're not, it's just a house with good security. Yoon-hee makes that approving sound again. Acceptable answer. Just acceptable? Min-jae asked. I'll upgrade to satisfactory when you stop asking her what she wants and start telling her what you want. Heat rises in Seo-yeon's cheeks. Grandmother. What? The boy needs guidance. Men always do when it comes to important conversations. Mrs. Jung, Min-jae said carefully, what I want and what's appropriate. Oh, please. You've spent weeks protecting her life, and she's spent weeks trusting you with it. I think we're past worrying about appropriate. Dr. Kim stands diplomatically. Perhaps I should check the medical suite arrangements. Perhaps you should, Yoon-hee agreed. This conversation requires family only. When they're alone, the living room falls into comfortable silence. Outside, security teams continue their patrols, but the tension has evaporated. Normal routine instead of crisis management. She's right, Min-jae said finally. About what? About me needing to tell you what I want, instead of asking what you want. So tell me. He looks out at the gardens where morning light reveals the compound in all its protected beauty. I want you to stay. Not as someone under my protection, but as someone choosing to build a life with me. What kind of life? The kind where we wake up together and have breakfast with family and argue about small things instead of life and death decisions. That sounds wonderfully boring. Boring would be a gift after the last few weeks. And my grandmother? Stays as long as she wants. This is her home too, if she'll have it. Yoon-hee speaks from her medical chair. I'll have it. On one condition. What condition? Min-jae asked. You marry my granddaughter properly, with ceremony and celebration and all the things she deserved the first time. Grandmother. Seo-yeon's face burns with embarrassment. What? If you're going to live together and build a life together, you might as well do it right. Min-jae looks at Seo-yeon with careful attention. Is that what you want? Eventually, maybe. When we're both ready. When it's our choice made for our reasons. How will we know when we're ready? When boring sounds perfect instead of scary. And when will that be? Ask me again in a few months. When we've had time to be normal people instead of protector and protected. Partners, he said. Partners, she agreed. I like the sound of that. Good, because that's what we're going to be. Outside, the ocean continues its endless conversation with the shore. Inside, a family that chose each other settles into the possibility of ordinary happiness. It's the most extraordinary gift any of them could have imagined. 3 days of peace feel like a lifetime. Seo-yeon wakes each morning to the sound of waves instead of security alerts. Breakfast happens around the kitchen table with conversation about normal things. Groceries, weather, whether the garden roses need more attention. Ordinary life feels revolutionary after weeks of crisis. I could get used to this, she tells Min-jae as they walk the compound's gardens in afternoon sunlight. Could you? Yes, though I think I need something more to do than just existing here. Such as work, purpose, something that uses my hands and my mind. Any ideas? Seo-yeon considers while they pause beside the rose bushes. Madam K tends with military precision. I've always wanted to learn proper tailoring, not just hemming other people's clothes but creating beautiful things from scratch. There are excellent schools in Seoul. Expensive schools. Money isn't an issue anymore. It's an issue for me. I want to earn my way, not be supported like a dependent. Min-jae stops walking to look at her directly. What if I told you I need someone to oversee the household staff? Manage schedules and supplies and all the details Madam K handles, but with someone younger who can expand the role. Is that a real job, or are you creating one to make me feel useful? It's a real job that needs doing. Madam K has been asking for an assistant for months, and you'd trust me with that responsibility. I'd trust you with anything. The simple honesty of it takes her breath away. They resume walking while she processes the offer. What about my grandmother? She'll need continued care, but she won't want to be treated like an invalid. Dr. Kim suggests she could benefit from regular activity, light exercise, social interaction. Min-jae pauses. There's a community center in the nearby village that offers programs for seniors. Transportation wouldn't be an issue. You've thought this through. I've been hoping you'd choose to stay. Planning accordingly seemed wise. They reach the compound's eastern wall, where a gate opens onto a narrow path leading toward the village below. Seo-yeon has never seen it unlocked before. Where does that go? She asked. Public trail that connects to the village center. About a 20-minute walk. Can we try it? Now? Right now. Just us. No security detail, no crisis management, just a walk like normal people take. Min-jae considers this request with the careful calculation she's learned to recognize. 10 minutes down the trail, then we turn around. Deal. The path winds through trees and natural landscape that feels wild compared to the compound's manicured grounds. Seo-yeon breathes salt air and listens to birds instead of security communications. This is what freedom feels like, she said. Is it different than you expected? Quieter, less dramatic, disappointingly ordinary, perfectly ordinary. They reach a viewpoint where the trail opens onto a scenic overlook. Seoul sprawls in the distance, but here the world feels peaceful, manageable, safe without being restrictive. Min-jae, she said as they stand looking out over the landscape. Yes, I'm ready. For what? For boring, for ordinary, for building something together that doesn't require emergency protocols or security briefings. You're sure? I'm sure. He turns to face her fully. In the afternoon light, his expression shows hope and vulnerability in equal measure. Then marry me, he said quietly. Not because of contracts or obligations or protection needs, because you want to build a life with me. The proposal settles between them like morning sunlight. Simple, perfect, long overdue. Yes, she said. Yes, yes, I'll marry you. When we're both ready. When it's our choice made for all the right reasons. And when will that be? When boring stops feeling like a gift and starts feeling like home. How long do you think that will take? Seo-yeon steps closer until she's standing directly in front of him, close enough to see the rapid pulse at his throat, close enough to reach up and touch his face. Ask me again in 6 months, when we've had time to be partners instead of protector and protected. 6 months? 6 months of learning how to be together when nothing's trying to keep us apart. Min-jae covers her hand with his. I can wait 6 months. Can you? For you? I can wait as long as it takes, even if boring drives you crazy. Especially if boring drives me crazy. That's how I'll know it's real. Seo-yeon laughs at the logic. That makes no sense. None of this makes sense. Love never does. Love? Love, he confirms. Is that all right with you? It's all right with me. Good. Because I love you, Seo-yeon. Not because you need protection or because I need to save someone. Because you make everything better just by being in it. I love you too, she said quietly. Not because you keep me safe, but because you make me brave. The kiss that follows is soft and careful and completely perfect. No urgency, no desperation. Just two people choosing each other with clear eyes and steady hearts. When they break apart, Seo-yeon realizes the compound below looks different from this angle. Less like a fortress and more like home. Ready to go back? Min-jae asked. Ready. They walk down the path hand in hand while the sun begins its descent toward the ocean. Behind them, the trail leading to normal life stays open, available whenever they choose to take it. Tomorrow there will be breakfast with family and ordinary conversations about ordinary things. Work to be done and plans to be made and a future to be built, one boring, beautiful day at a time. But today there's this walk and this moment and the promise of all the moments that will follow. It's enough. More than enough. It's everything. 6 months later, the wedding ceremony happens on the compound's eastern terrace, overlooking the ocean where waves whisper their eternal promises to the shore. 20 guests gather around chairs arranged in a simple circle, Madam K in her best dress, Dr. Kim with flowers from the garden, Seok-jin looking uncomfortable in formal attire, but smiling despite himself. Yoon-hee sits in the front row, oxygen cannula discreetly arranged under a silk scarf, her eyes bright with joy and satisfaction. Finally, she had said that morning, I was beginning to think you'd changed your mind. Never, Seo-yeon had replied, just waiting for the right moment. The right moment, it turns out, is this one. Afternoon light slanting golden across stone terraces, salt air carrying the scent of roses and possibility, family gathered to witness two people choosing each other with clear eyes and steady hearts. Seo-yeon wears a dress she made herself, simple silk in cream that moves like water when she walks. No hidden money sewn into the hem this time, no escape routes planned, just beauty for the sake of beauty, and love for the sake of love. Min-jae waits for her at the altar they've created from driftwood and white flowers. His expression shows wonder, as if he still can't believe this moment is real. Ready? Eun-hee whispers as Seo-yeon pauses beside her chair. Ready. Good. Because that man has been ready since the day you ran into his car in a torn wedding dress. Seo-yeon laughs softly. I love you, grandmother. I love you too. Now go marry him before he passes out from nervousness. The ceremony itself is brief. Vows they wrote themselves, spoken in voices steady with certainty, rings that slide onto fingers without hesitation, promises made in front of family who chose each other as surely as the bride and groom did. You may kiss your wife, the officiating minister says, with gentle formality. My wife, Min-jae repeats softly, as if testing how the words sound. Your wife, Seo-yeon confirms. The kiss that seals their marriage is soft and sweet and completely perfect. No urgency, no desperation. Just two people who've learned the difference between protection and partnership, between gratitude and love. When they break apart, applause ripples through the small gathering. Madam K wipes her eyes with a handkerchief. Dr. Kim beams like a proud father. Even Sok-jin allows himself a rare smile. Pictures, Eun-hee announces from her wheelchair. We need pictures of this moment. They gather on the terrace as the sun begins its descent toward the horizon. Traditional poses and candid moments, laughter and gentle teasing, the easy rhythm of family celebrating together. Later, after dinner and cake and stories shared over wine, Seo-yeon and Min-jae walk the gardens alone. Husband and wife now, partners who chose each other freely. Any regrets? He asked as they pause beside the fountain, where goldfish swim in lazy circles. About marrying you? None. About staying here instead of starting completely fresh somewhere else? None. This is home. Even with all the security and isolation? Especially with all the security and isolation, though I notice you've relaxed some of the protocols. Have I? The gate to the village trail stays unlocked now. I can drive to Seoul for my tailoring classes without an escort. Grandmother goes to her senior center activities independently. Seo-yeon looks at him with gentle teasing. You've gotten very trusting. I've gotten very confident in your ability to take care of yourself. And if something did happen, if some new threat appeared, then we'd handle it. Together. As partners. Not as protector and protected. Never again as protector and protected. Always as equals who happen to love each other enough to fight for what we've built. They reach the terrace where the wedding ceremony took place hours earlier. Chairs are gone, but flower petals still drift across the stone in evening breeze. What do you think she would have said? Seo-yeon asked quietly. Your first wife. About us. Min-jae considers the question with the careful honesty she's learned to expect from him. So Young would have said that grief makes poor foundation for new love, but healing makes excellent foundation for everything else. He pauses. She would have liked you, and she would have been glad I learned how to live again instead of just surviving. Are you? Living instead of just surviving. Every day with you is living. Every morning I wake up and choose happiness instead of just safety. He takes her hand. That's a gift I'd forgotten was possible. They stand together on the terrace where they promise to love each other through ordinary days and extraordinary challenges, where they chose partnership over possession, trust over control. Below them, the ocean continues its eternal conversation with the shore. Above them, stars appear one by one in deepening sky. Around them, home embraces everything they've built together. Ready for our boring, ordinary married life? Seo-yeon asked. Ready, Min-jae said, though I suspect our version of ordinary might be more interesting than most people's. Is that a problem? That's perfect. They walk back toward the house where lights glow warmly in windows and family waits to continue the celebration. Hand in hand, husband and wife. Partners who found each other in the most unlikely circumstances and chose to build something beautiful from the chaos. Behind them, flower petals drift across empty stones. Ahead of them, a lifetime of ordinary days stretches like a gift. They're finally, completely home. 6 months after the wedding, morning light filters through the master bedroom's sheer curtains as Seo-yeon wakes to the sound of Min-jae already moving around the adjoining bathroom. The routine has become comfortable over the past year, him rising early for security briefings, her taking a few extra minutes to watch the sunrise paint the ocean in shades of gold and rose. Coffee's ready downstairs, he calls softly. Madam K made your favorite pastries. Bribery this early in the morning. Seo-yeon stretches beneath Egyptian cotton sheets that still feel luxurious after all these months. What does she want? Permission to renovate the guest wing kitchen. Apparently the appliances are criminally inadequate for proper entertaining, and you need my support for this decision because Min-jae appears in the doorway, already dressed in one of his perfectly tailored suits, but his tie hangs loose around his neck and his hair shows the effects of her fingers from last night. Because you're the household manager now. Kitchen renovations fall under your jurisdiction. The title still makes her smile. 6 months ago, she'd been a runaway bride with nothing but hidden money sewn into her dress hem. Now she oversees a staff of 12 and manages a household budget larger than most people's annual income. I'll review her proposals after I check on grandmother, she said. Dr. Kim already did morning rounds. Blood pressure slightly elevated, but nothing concerning. She's demanding real bacon instead of the turkey substitute he's been pushing. Let her have bacon. She's 73 and survived a war. I think she's earned the right to eat what she wants. That's what I told him. Seo-yeon rises and pads across hardwood floors to where Min-jae struggles with his tie. Even after months of marriage, he still tenses slightly when she reaches up to fix it, not from fear, but from the wonder of casual intimacy. There, she said, smoothing the silk against his chest. Perfect as always. Far from perfect. Perfect for me. He catches her hands and holds them against his heart. The gesture has become ritual between them, a moment of connection before the day's responsibilities separate them. Dinner tonight? He asked. Just us. On the terrace. Celebrating something? Celebrating nothing. Celebrating ordinary Tuesday evening with my wife. I love ordinary Tuesday evenings. Good, because I have about 50 years of ordinary evenings planned. The kiss he gives her tastes of coffee and contentment. When they break apart, sunlight has fully claimed the bedroom and the day officially begins. Go, she said, straightening his collar unnecessarily. Make important business decisions and intimidate people who deserve intimidating. What will you do? Make sure grandmother eats her bacon. Review Madam K's renovation plans. Finish the jacket I'm tailoring for Mrs. Chen's grandson. She pauses. Live my wonderfully boring life. And tonight? Tonight I'll have dinner with my husband on our terrace overlooking our ocean. Our ocean? Our ocean. I've decided the view belongs to us now. Min-jae laughs, the sound still rare enough to feel like a gift. I'll inform the maritime authorities. You do that. After he leaves for his downtown office, Seo-yeon takes her time getting ready. Jeans instead of formal attire, comfortable flats instead of heels, hair in a simple ponytail because she'll be working with fabric samples later. The freedom to dress for comfort instead of protection never gets old. Downstairs, she finds Yoon-hee holding court in the sunroom with Dr. Kim and 2 of the household staff. Her grandmother's color has improved dramatically over the past year, and her voice carries the authority of someone accustomed to being heard. Absolutely not, Yoon-hee was saying firmly. I will not take pills that make me dizzy just to lower my blood pressure 2 points. Find a different solution. Mrs. Jung, Dr. Kim said patiently, the medication is well within safe parameters. Safe for whom? I'm the one who has to live in this body every day. Grandmother, Seo-yeon said, settling into the chair beside her. What's the argument about? Doctor, Kim wants to change my heart medication again. I want him to leave well enough alone. What are the benefits of the new medication? Slightly better cardiac output, marginally improved circulation. Doctor, Kim's voice was professional but resigned. But Mrs. Jung is correct that the side effects include dizziness and mild cognitive clouding. Then we stick with the current medication, Seo-yeon said without hesitation. Quality of life matters more than marginal medical improvements. Thank you, Yoon-hee looked triumphant. Finally, someone with sense. Dr. Kim made notes in his chart. I'll document the patient's preference and continue current treatment protocols. After he leaves, Seo-yeon and her grandmother sit together watching gardeners tend the roses through floor-to-ceiling windows. He's a good doctor, Yoon-hee said, but he forgets that being alive isn't the same as living well. Is that what we're doing now? Living well? Better than I ever expected to at my age. Yoon-hee reaches for her hand. Are you happy, Yeon-hee? The question requires honest consideration. Seo-yeon thinks about her morning routine with Min-jae. Her work managing the household and learning tailoring. The sense of purpose that comes from building something meaningful with people she loves. Yes, she said finally. I'm happy. Good. Because happiness is something you have to choose every day, not something that happens to you once and lasts forever. Is that what you do? Choose happiness daily? Every morning when I wake up in a comfortable bed with medical care most people can't afford and a granddaughter who chose love over fear. Yoon-hee squeezes her hand. Yes, I choose happiness. They sit in comfortable silence while morning light shifts across polished floors. Outside, Seoul stretches toward mountains that rim the horizon like ancient guardians. "Grandmother," Seo-yeon said eventually. "Yes? Do you ever miss our old life? The apartment, the simplicity, the way things were before all this complexity?" Yoon-hee considers the question while watching a gardener prune rose bushes with careful precision. "I miss some things," she said slowly. "The neighborhood sounds, knowing every shop owner by name, the feeling that I understood how the world worked. But I don't miss the fear, the constant worry about money and medicine, and what would happen if my heart finally gave out completely." She looks directly at Seo-yeon. "I don't miss watching you sacrifice your dreams to take care of an old woman. Taking care of you was never a sacrifice. It was a beautiful sacrifice made from love, but a sacrifice nonetheless." Yoon-hee's voice was gentle. "Now you get to have both, love and dreams, family and future. Because of Min-jae, because of choices you made. He just gave you better options to choose from. The distinction matters." Seo-yeon files it away with all the other wisdom her grandmother dispenses, like daily vitamins. "Speaking of choices," Yoon-hee continued, "when are you going to give me great-grandchildren to spoil?" Heat rises in Seo-yeon's cheeks. "Grandmother, what? It's a reasonable question. You're married to a good man who adores you. I'm not getting any younger. These things take planning. We're still figuring out our marriage. Adding children feels premature. How long does figuring out marriage take? I don't know. We're making it up as we go." Good approach. The best marriages are improvised rather than scripted. Yoon-hee's eyes twinkle with mischief. "Just don't improvise too long. I want to meet these theoretical great-grandchildren while I'm still coherent enough to enjoy them." Before Seo-yeon can formulate a response to this gentle pressure, Madam K appears in the sunroom doorway. "Excuse me," she said with formal politeness, "but there's a situation that requires Mrs. Ri's attention." Mrs. Ri. The title still sounds strange, but Seo-yeon is learning to answer to it. What kind of situation? The kind involving expensive fabric and a very apologetic seamstress who may have misunderstood cutting instructions. Seo-yeon sighs. How expensive and how apologetic. Italian silk worth more than most cars, and apologetic enough to be considering career changes. "I'll be right there." As Seo-yeon rises to handle the crisis, Yoon-hee catches her hand. "Remember," she said quietly, "mistakes happen. How you handle them matters more than the mistake itself." Advice for fabric disasters? Advice for everything. Seo-yeon kisses her grandmother's forehead and goes to manage her first real crisis as household administrator. Behind her, Yoon-hee settles back into her chair with satisfaction. The morning sun climbs higher over the compound, where 3 generations of women have learned to choose happiness over fear, partnership over possession, and love over mere survival. It's turning out to be a very good ordinary Tuesday. An ordinary evening. The terrace has been transformed for dinner. Soft lighting from solar lanterns. A small table set for 2 with flowers from the garden. Candles that flicker in the evening breeze but don't threaten to blow out. Seo-yeon arrives first, having changed into a simple dress she made from fabric left over from a recent project. Blue silk that matches the ocean at twilight. Comfortable flats, because the terrace stones can be unforgiving in heels. Min-jae appears precisely on time, still wearing his business suit but with the tie removed and jacket slung over one arm. He pauses when he sees the table arrangement. "This is beautiful," he said. "Madam K's work. I just provided general guidance about romance and atmosphere. Her guidance was excellent. I'll tell her you said so. She'll be insufferably pleased." They settle into chairs positioned to share the ocean view, while servers tonight, Sok-jin pressed into temporary duty, brings the first course. "How was the fabric crisis?" Min-jae asked. "Resolved with minimal casualties." The seamstress confused bias cut with straight cut and destroyed about $3,000 worth of Italian silk. "Expensive mistake. Expensive but not catastrophic. I've been making the same mistake since I was 14. The fabric can be repurposed into smaller projects." "And the seamstress?" "Gets additional training and a chance to redeem herself. Everyone makes mistakes when they're learning." Min-jae sips wine and watches her face in candlelight. "You're good at this." "At what?" "Managing people. Making decisions that balance accountability with compassion." "You sound surprised." "Not surprised. Impressed. You have excellent instincts for leadership." "Is that what I'm doing?" Leading? You're doing exactly what good leaders do, creating environments where people can succeed while maintaining standards that matter. The observation pleases her more than it should. 6 months ago, her biggest management responsibility was making sure her grandmother took her medication on schedule. Now she oversees renovation projects and resolves personnel conflicts with confidence she's still discovering. Speaking of leadership, she said, how was your day intimidating important business people? Productive. We finalized the partnership agreement with the Singapore Shipping Consortium. The one you've been negotiating for 6 months? That's the one. Congratulations, that's huge. It's significant, he agrees, but not as significant as coming home to dinner with you on our terrace. Our terrace? Our terrace. Our ocean. Our ordinary Tuesday evening. You're getting very possessive about ordinary things. Ordinary things are the most precious things when you've spent years believing you'd never have them. The honesty in his voice makes her look up from her soup. In candlelight, his expression shows contentment she's learned to recognize and treasure. Do you miss it? She asked. The excitement, the constant crisis management, the feeling that every decision was life or death. No. The answer comes without hesitation. I thought I would, but I don't. What do you miss? Nothing about that life. But I miss some things from before that life, before So Young died and I turned everything into a fortress. Such as? Spontaneity, the ability to make plans without security assessments, dinner out at restaurants without advance teams checking for threats. He pauses. Trust in the basic goodness of ordinary days. Do you have that now? Trust in ordinary days? I'm learning to. You're teaching me that ordinary can be extraordinary when it's shared with the right person. And who is the right person? You know who. Tell me anyway. You. You're the right person for everything. The declaration settles between them like a promise renewed. Not wedding vow formal, but daily choice practical. Good, she said, because you're stuck with me now. Stuck. Legally, romantically, and practically stuck. No escape clause in our marriage contract. I didn't want an escape clause. Smart man. Smart enough to marry you when you said yes. They eat in comfortable silence while evening light fades over water that reflects their happiness back at them in gentle waves. Min-jae? Seo-yeon said as Sok-jin brings dessert. Yes? I've been thinking about what comes next. Next? Next phase. Next chapter. Next evolution of whatever this life we're building together becomes. Something shifts in his expression, attention sharpening with interest rather than concern. What kind of next phase? He asked carefully. The kind that might involve expanding our family. Expanding how? The traditional way. Children. Little people who inherit your eyes and my stubborn streak. Children. He says the word like he's testing how it sounds. Our children. Eventually. When we're ready. When the timing feels right. And when will that be? I don't know yet, but I wanted you to know I'm thinking about it, that I want to think about it with you. Min-jae sets down his wine glass and reaches across the table for her hand. His fingers are warm and steady against hers. I've been thinking about it too, he said quietly. Have you? Late at night sometimes, wondering what they would look like, how they would fit into this life we've built. And I think they would fit perfectly. When we're ready, when the timing is right. How will we know when we're ready? When the thought of them makes us excited instead of terrified. Are you terrified now? A little. Are you? A little, but also excited. Then maybe we're closer to ready than either of us realized. The possibility hangs between them, like evening stars beginning to appear in darkening sky. Not immediate pressure, but distant promise. No rush, Seo-yeon said. Just something to think about. Something wonderful to think about. Even if they inherit my tendency to run away from wedding ceremonies. Especially if they inherit your courage to run toward better choices. The dessert chocolate cake that Madam K makes only for special occasions arrives with coffee and the last of the evening light. They share bites and easy conversation while darkness settles over the compound like a comfortable blanket. Perfect evening, Seo-yeon said as they prepare to go inside. Perfect, ordinary evening, Min-jae corrects. Is there any other kind worth having? Not anymore. They walk hand in hand toward the house where lights glow warmly in windows and family waits to continue the gentle rhythm of daily life. Behind them, candles flicker out naturally in evening breeze. Above them, stars take their positions for another night of standing guard over everything they've chosen to protect and cherish. Tomorrow will bring ordinary Wednesday responsibilities. household management and business decisions, and the thousand small choices that build a life worth living. But tonight there's just this walk, and this moment, and the promise of all the moments that will follow. In the distance, Seoul's lights twinkle like earthbound stars. But here, in their small corner of the world, Seo-yeon and Min-jae have everything they need. They're home, they're happy, they're exactly where they choose to be. And that, it turns out, is the most extraordinary gift of all.